pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any conflicts of interest with today's agenda? No, sir. Agenda will be approved as written. Reading of minutes.
May 13th, 2025, the Board of Supervisors met at 9 a.m. with Dave Mulbauer, Chair, presiding, members present, Schultz, Dozark, Mulbauer, Hayden, and Rosberg. Minutes of the previous meeting were read and approved. On motion, the board recognized claims for public health and approved claims for all other departments. The board approved the hiring of Matt Head, seasonal conservation. The board approved the change of wage for Elliot Cook, maintenance employee 2, engineer's office. The board approved the change of wage for Tracy Dietz, appraiser / admin assistant, assessor's office. Motion was made by Dozark, seconded by Hayden, to approve the quote for mini split for the assistant county attorney's office from Carroll Control Systems for $6,820. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Schultz, seconded by Dozark, to approve the quote for basement PD HVAC quote from Carroll Control Systems for $69,175. VRF with heat recovery. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Schultz, seconded by Dozark, to approve the hiring of an independent investigator, John Thomas, for internal matters. Voting aye, Schultz, Dozark, Mulbauer, and Rosberg, abstaining Hayden. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Hayden, seconded by Dozark, to approve the hiring of outside counsel Brent Hinders of Hopkins and Hebner, PC, for a conflict case, specialized matter. Motion passed unanimously. On motion, duly seconded, board adjourned at 11:10 a.m. Agendas for the next meeting are posted and available at the courthouse on Friday, 4:30 p.m. preceding the next meeting.
Any discussion, correction, comments? Any none, minutes will be approved as written. Supervisor reports.
Okay, I'll make this quick because we saved some time. Craig might have some updates for us on this history. Like at the end. At the end. Oh, okay, well,
That way I won't intrude on anybody's supervisor.
okay, I see what I'm saying, but Friday, I supposed to go up to Cherokee for the center, and I guess if it quits raining, the river won't be out, maybe up there. You know how they get up there, a little bit of rain and the river's out, can't get there, so. But nice rain we've been having.
9/10, 2 days in a row.
Yeah, we're over 3 inches there, at my place there.
Wow.
But, the county farm, former supervisor Kuman has let me know yesterday morning, it's all seeded. And the food plots are all in, so it's a perfect timing. You got it done
Excellent.
before the rain, so. That should be, we need to just kind of move into our next phase of,
We need to meet.
we need to meet with the Friends of Yellow Smoke or whatever and try to get that switched over to, the funding portion of that. So we'll start working on that. And what, with that, you were probably contacted by Kevin Collins. I was not. When I was, in regards to a possible easement of being axed. Kevin Collins, adjacent landowner.
Yeah, he had your number, so that's why he said. Call it.
Okay. And he wanted to purchase a chunk or whatever. I said, well, that's not as easy done as said to purchase a chunk of ground from the county. I said, there's only certain ways we can do that. But then he asked about an easement, so I had to talk to him about it. He sent me a picture. He apparently has a hard time exiting his farm with loads of corn. And I do understand what he's talking about. It's a steep hill down. So he's asking if he could get an easement to access a corner of our property. And, I said, well, that'd be something we could do, but I says, mind you, it's in 10-year ground now, so we'd have to get permission from the NRCS to do that. So I just was bringing it to the attention of this board that we've been asked if we could get an easement to cross the small corner of our property. Which,
You think that's doable?
it's not the end of the world, but don't know the
We'd have to
NRCS
pay
part.
that, wouldn't we?
I think we would, so.
Right, whatever that amount would be.
Depending on which contract that land actually lands on, because there's two, I believe.
We have him pay that cost then, probably.
I think we would, that, yeah.
Is he talking about wanting to gravel it for a lane or just?
No, I just needs it during harvest, you know, the hauling his crop out there.
How would we find out how much that would actually?
NRCS would.
I'd have
Yeah,
to
they
go,
do an estimate or something.
you'd have to go out there,
Yeah,
talk to them, so. Yeah, like I said, we'd have to pay that portion back, which if he's willing to pay that, I don't know if that's a big problem, so. More to be determined on that, so.
So will you start the process of finding out or?
Very south.
Already working on it?
No, it's, it is in, here's a better picture. Here's the county home, anyway, so it's right up, right off the road. And it's really steep right where you
That's the
saw
county
it.
home right there.
Wish I had bigger pictures so that people on Zoom could see it.
Guys, you don't know how to share your screen with Zoom.
No.
We'd have to
Lumen
share
used to
if
be
you
able-
email it to me, I could email it to Gordon and Cindy.
Okay, I will do that. I'll email it and we'll email it to. All right, I will do that, so. But more to come on that. I have to actually go out to NRCS for another matter after this meeting, so I'll ask them what kind of dollar amount they'd be talking, so. Okay?
Yep.
And I think Gene and I, were we gonna,
Yes.
we
Get the
need to
news
go to, would be phrase manufacturing, get a sign made for the steps that says restricted access or.
We need to block
employee
off
only or
access
something.
downstairs because that building it's not for the general public to go down there, so the city. Way back when we got the building and we're inquiring whether we needed an elevator or not. The basement is not for public access, so we're gonna have a chain and a sign that says no public access. If you wanna go see the bedroom.
That's the place called, unless somebody else has got another
Top of the
idea.
Steps, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, right at the top of the steps.
that's great. I mean, I think
Yeah,
that's. the
can
only
we put
place-
one at the bottom so no one tries to go
We
up?
could,
I mean, I don't know, I'm
doing
just
it.
saying.
Yeah.
Probably not a bad.
Not a
idea.
bad
Saying-
idea, as long as we're doing it, and then just have
It's
a
the
little
same
hook. chain
principle
there.
going
Yeah.
up as it would be going
And
down.
if someone is using that conference room downstairs, can they go
We just
through
assume
currently?
We just assume those be two separate.
Are they
entities.
locked? Is that door able to
We're
be
going
locked?
to keep the door in the, we're gonna lock the one accessing into the,
Oh, the glass one or
the glass one, yep, so that
Okay,
you can get in there.
so they can get in that
If
room,
Louis,
but that's
you know,
as
wanted
far
to
as
have a
someone
lunch
can
break
go.
in there, or whatever, that room's not off limits to, people.
So the reason we don't put just locked doors on the top of the property.
Open staircase.
It's
It's an open
Yeah,
staircase.
that would involve some,
We would have to put a wall in and,
yeah,
I mean, there'd be a little
it's really
more
not necessary, so. I
Little
think
more
the no public access.
construction to that, but.
Yep, we also need to change the signage outside, on that north side, because people are parking there as an overflow from their parking areas, and we need to have that for our patients and our customers.
So residential people are parking there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just a habit you get into, like it's
It's been empty for so long. Yeah.
New signage is gonna be necessary to restrict that, so.
It does
And
say
one of them's
doctor's
going to
parking.
be a,
Right.
handicap, and so we gotta get the painting for that. It's been approved by the city. We had two of them that we wanted, but the one on the, going down the hill right at the end has been, not approved by the city because it's not safe enough, to get out of, a handicapped person with the incline and then how we would get to the sideway. So that one was denied, so we can't, but we can make the one at the, end of inside Luis's area a handicap accessible, and then Louise wants to change, well, we talked about that last week, so that they don't have to go all the way around, that's gonna be easier, so there's a few handicap things we have to take care of, but we got the approval, we just need to get it, and we're hoping, I'll take my turn when it's my turn. We can-
Yeah. You know, we need like 42 inches of chain. I measured it this morning.
Okay, thank you,
So we do a top bottom, we need 84 inches of chain.
yep, and then we would need a way to, you know, make it hook, but yet it still has to be able to unhook, you know.
Yep.
In case one of the employees need to go down to the storeroom or something
Sure.
like that. I think that those are all good things to kind of let people know this isn't just a place to shortcut through and it's not.
What do we want to say? I don't know, restricted access or employees only, or I don't know.
I think restricted access nails it. Yeah.
Okay.
Nuclear hazard. No.
Do not enter. I think restricted access, you could say do not enter, you could say, no public access.
Yeah, it's no public access. I like that. Simple enough.
Yep. Yeah, big enough.
Yeah,
All right.
all right. What was it said?
With
I'll go
that,
down, that phrase, make two sides up.
Yep.
Whatever
Some chains
hallway
in it.
that they have, that'd be easy enough.
did you see how the front door is ratcheted shut?
I do see that.
It's a talent to know how to do that. The parts that came that were supposed to be for the badges was either defective or not the right part. So then Corey tried to overnight them, and then when they came, they still weren't the right part. So they're continually working with an overnight delivery to try to get exactly what they need. So that is, because the badges are being made. People are able to get in here real soon with the badge.
Awesome.
Same way downstairs, I've ordered, my turkey up at 10,
It's all right.
10 badges for, the, DHS gals who need access to the basement down there also. So Corey's got all the names, so we can get their names, so we can get those distributed. Because if, you know, we have an arrangement with them that they can meet in our space, and we'd be able to get in, so. These badges on order. So kind of exciting stuff, not to have an old fashioned key and somebody loses the key, you gotta change the whole lock and, you know, that we can, somebody calls and says they lost their badge, you just have to stop that badge and issue another one and not, really get into the 21st century.
Easy to lose a key.
It's so easy to lose the key and then you don't know where you lost it, and the tag on the key tells you exactly what it is, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
My daughter just dropped her car key in the hot pit when she was vaccinating home.
Is that a fob?
No,
Okay.
That's all I
Okay.
have.
I have a
Those can get a
rule.
little pricey.
You didn't go find it?
On the hog barn, keys stay in pocket and the phone stays in the truck. Phones go in them pretty slick too.
That's all I have.
okay, thank you, Charlie.
Great.
I had a Wesco meeting yesterday and just wanted to hand out, I guess, to everyone, something that Wesco put out this year. They put out one, you might have got one in your mail.
Yeah.
And this one, they did a more detailed one and then kind of a broad one, and the broad one is what they mailed out to everyone. This is a more detailed one, and it really goes into everything that Wesco provides, what they do, the impact that they have, the fact that they want to be certainly more community involved. That's a goal that the Wesco board has. And so, in our meeting yesterday, unfortunately, we didn't have enough, for a quorum. So you don't accomplish much when you don't have a quorum. So that is something, like I said, I think the last time I reported on Wesco is we are looking for board members. So if anyone out there in Zoom, has a name or wants to do it themselves, or anyone here on the board can think of someone that I can give a call to, certainly give me that name. But, financially and with Wesco, everything is going well this year. They're doing well financially. They're still serving a lot of people. They're just short, I think, 2 employees. So they're clicking right along. Everything's
This
good.
is really cool.
It is.
Kind of put it together and you just kind of,
And I like that it's
Really
kind of
colorful.
flashy or
Yeah,
colory,
it's-
whatever you want to say. It makes you Want to look at it, and go, what is this?
Absolutely. And you just have to read you don't have to read like a book, you can kind of, it's like I really like it.
You put this all together.
Wesco internally did, they hired someone to print it, but internally they put it all together. They've got some
Really?
talented people on their management team there, just talented people with all their employees.
Like a Don once, the Dennison's best kept secret.
Quote from Don. Yeah. So, other than Wesco, that's all that I have to report on.
Thank you. I'll make it quick. I did go up and check out the Vale Bridge yesterday. That's been worked on. I did get a call from Jeff Gallagher. There's a lot of traffic bypassing around Pollux. Paul's aware.
Pollock.
Yep, the old Pollux. Paul's aware of it. They're keeping a close eye on it. And I'll see whether or not it needs any more dust suppression. Probably not now after the rain for a while. It was pretty rough around Pollux there, just a lot of traffic. I told Jeff was understanding that. Just part of needing to replace the bridge. So it's just how people naturally find alternative routes.
You do?
And then I got a video from, actually it was my cousin Katie Hall. She works for Soybean Association and which county is it there? There it is. They used a old rail car, grain rail car, and they took the frame, it was decommissioned, but the frame was good. And they used it to build a bridge. So I sent the video to, Paul. It looked pretty neat, but, so repurposing old rail cars. And Paul said he actually looked into it, but he said at the end of the day, with the bridge crew and pricing materials out, what they're doing is actually right in line or cheaper than what they did with these. I suppose if you had them, we use them.
You can't get them for free, yeah.
But it was kind of interesting concept of
Yeah, that
repurposing
is.
something. So, and Paul had looked into. Good to know. But, that is all I had. So going to you, Gene.
All right. We just see where we got a letter thing from Colin about those payments on the towers. Sounds like you've been working with.
Yeah, just through coincidence, I was talking with Dwayne on some other stuff, but we ended up, when it popped up that apparently the contract is up for no on the current,
What's that stand for?
North America Ocean and atmospheric, or, yeah, ocean and out, but anyway. And, so he was happy to actually find a contact, because there's never been
Right, I know
anybody to claim
Colin's trying to get that contract switched
nobody's
to
ever,
the county.
and he said nobody's ever been willing to step up and claim responsibility of who to contact with, so he said, I finally got a contact person. So, he's happy with that, so hopefully we can get that switched, but yeah, we
And then
need
they
to,
can bring us current
right,
money.
yes.
Was that, how long a contract did they sign and then?
I think it's a 10-year contract, I think. I thought that's what it said. It's a 10-year contract, so. But it's not really up until next year, but he says they're always in advance. They're ahead of the game.
Thank you.
Hopefully that'll work out finally. I mean, good news.
All right, very good. I had a Univistas at Crawford childhood meeting, 9 o'clock on Wednesday, to kind of go through some things, maybe a little bit earlier this month, because there were lots of things that need to be signed and changes, always, but there's a new House file out there. It's an act relating to early childhood education and care, including by modifying provisions for the statewide preschool program. So there's a new act out there again that is hopefully gonna make things better, but we're still very concerned about funding to make sure that we can pay for everything the way that we're used to. So just while we were talking, I got an update from Dawn here, and she wants, I'm gonna print it off and we'll, I just got it, so maybe I'll report on that next week on behavioral health and disability services.
I say, Gene, just that note kind of
All right,
sparked something.
You go.
that Was at the Westo meeting
Uh-huh.
that, Deidre, the, COO, mentioned that she met with the Health and Human Services Director at one of her meetings. And they told her that there's gonna be no funding changes through December 31 for this year.
can do, yeah.
You knew that too.
Well, we talked
And
about that with Dawn
then-
today.
Then they're not so sure, but anything
Right,
that's, because
right.
we're always concerned about the stepping stones programs.
As you should be.
Right, and so Deidre was told that there will be no funding changes until through
So it just-
December
it just
31.
pushes the can down. the
It
road.
does, it does, it does.
But I
Yes.
think that what we now see is that was just not ready to kick off July first. And we all wondered how that was gonna happen. So I think that that's great that they decided to, not be so adamant about this change happening directly on July first and realizing that there's so many moving parts to all of this that we get, let July first get here and then we're still going to be working on how to make these transitions. And I think it gives us all a chance to get our concerns out there. And, I think it's good to have this opened up with all the different questions. I just got it since I've been sitting here. So I will review it and kind of try to give you a little overview of that next week rather than trying to read the whole thing to you. But it's just hard, when people aren't sure what they've always done, if that particular program is going to see a little bit of even a structuring difference in the formula, the way they do it, or if it's just a program that they no longer think is important.
Because we don't know what the changes are gonna be.
That's
That's the
it.
whole
We-
thing. So you don't know if we need to change our program to meet what your qualifications are now.
Correct.
Well, do we just need to name something different, call it a new thing, but we just don't know. And that's the frustrating.
And make sure that all your reports are real in detail, no more, because we're gonna be having an audit. I had a public health board meeting yesterday, and for the first time, we met in our new building down the basement. And so it was just so comfortable, and it was so bright in there that Kim Finneran thought she was getting a migraine possibly, because it was so bright. And so thus we thought, well, maybe we need dimmers on there, because it was nice and bright, and everybody was so impressed with all of it. We took a tour upstairs. Every time I go, there's more things moved in. One of the holdups that we have right now is we have some desks that we're gonna be using in the new building. And they're 30 inches wide, and so are the doors. And so we might have to take some stuff off, but I did get a hold of Roger, and he may have some individuals that are in his facility at this time that could possibly be the type that could help us move those and get them out. Coordinating with the weather, coordinating with programs that are going on currently at public health, and getting the Tommy lift truck takes a lot of coordination. I was hoping I'm gonna talk to Roger after today and see if the weather's doing, because it really won't take that long, as long as we have the right tools in place for us. So they're now all of a sudden seem very anxious to get moved over there. The tour with the Board of Public Health took it very positive, how things are looking. Everybody seems to be ready to go. And so I see are we working on the little place for the freezer? Is somebody actively, or do I?
Last Friday, I just popped in there and we don't need that now.
Oh. Good, you
That
didn't go and
freezer's
make
not
one.
gonna, that freezer's not gonna be there.
What? Okay, I take that well.
They
Okay,
aren't gonna have a
They're
vaccine.
bringing, that freezer's gonna be over in the other corner, and they're bringing a refrigerator, freezer from the current facility
oh,
and going in there.
okay,
So that was news to me as well.
okay. Oh, I was just there yesterday with the board, and we must not gone that in detail about that, so
That was Friday. You were there yesterday.
that was my, okay. It's,
Changed again.
but nothing will stop, and so last week I reported that somebody was wanting to, it was Kim Keller from Plains area, and they had a tour of our building, the old building, and so that was good, they went there,
Saw it though.
yeah. So that's good.
Did Annette say anything about how the breakdown, do they have the numbers for change in formula?
No, we do not have actual numbers. But the good thing of Annette is so on top of everything. And Molly, they are just tuned in, wanting to get pinned on, I bet she got this 5 minutes ago and then passed it all on. So that we're all staying in the know and that the questions that we have in our areas, we can get out there. So
I'd be curious what that funding change is gonna be after the state board passed that formula change. And I'd be good to go back with them if it is lower it, I'd like to know so I can say, hey, this is how it directly affected my local ECI.
I will find out what Annette knows about that today.
All right, so it just drives me nuts if they asked it to see what was in it.
Since day one, we've had concerns, but it's just getting, July 1st is right around the corner and we're still have all these questions and concerns and getting information out. So it's been a big lift. And what I'm happy about is that it's not all going to be this doomsday on June 1st. They're going to continue to keep some of these people on staff that have all the information and the knowledge. Because there was truly a concern that July 1st, there was going to be some very, very good qualified people in the unemployment line. And that was going to be the biggest shame ever because they were taking all that knowledge with them. You've got to get information from the people that have been doing it and it's been working. Got to keep those people on. So I'm glad to hear that. Tonight I have West Central Community Action in Bartlett, and I plan on attending in person this time. Unless there's a tornado coming, but we're wondering if they have a quorum.
I know where it is.
I think so.
Okay.
I have the address and but it's not hard to find, so, yeah. At that, but public health, I will be doing an audit. The state will be coming and doing an audit on our hospice, and so they went through and kind of tweaked up the things that they felt that they needed to, address, and then I guess they'll be calling me and asking me questions about the program, so I know what they do. I just always, when you're gonna get a cold call from somebody that you don't work in the area, I don't know, but that was our budget. We did go over the new pay scales, and we did talk about in great detail the traveling nurse and the expense that we've had for that, and they are trying to wean using her quite so much, but they have about 11 to 13 hospice patients right now, and we were at that 5 level, so things are picking up again. So that is
Required by law to have so many nurses per hospice patients or.
Oh. I think it's probably depending on what stages, but I don't know if it's by law. I think it just makes sense that you just know what stages they're at in the hospice and how
Much care. is
much
what's in
care, and I think they can self-adjust to it. I don't think it's like preschool where you have to have one person for every, because hospice is sometimes there's people in there for 3 days and sometimes they're in there for 6 months and, but the numbers are up, which is, I think, the takeaway from that.
I actually one time had a client that was in hospice and came out of hospice.
Yep, I've
I'm
seen
like, I
that.
never even knew that was possible.
Yeah,
I thought once
Yeah.
you were in, there's only one final
And
way to get out, but,
that's reassuring.
right,
Because it is, you don't want it to be that death sentence that you hear you're in hospice. It's good to know that you can maintain, you're never gonna get healed, but as long as you don't need that constant care and being consulted over, for me, hospice was telling you what the normal stages of death are and to not be so concerned about where your loved one is at that point in time. And so they were very valuable several times in my life, so thankful for hospice. But yeah, it was kind of a busy week, and I think it's still gonna continue to be a busy week this week. We're gonna, as soon as we get everybody moved in, there will be a ribbon cutting and a grand opening, and so we're, it's just a matter of getting everybody ready to do this. And the other update that I would give is, we did not rehire our financial, and some of the gals have really stepped up and they are really making some good progress on getting everything to go. And they do say it's been a challenge, but they're all getting through it and they all have smiles. So it's all good. So that was my meeting. So, they're all, I think, good, positive. So,
Doug,
Well, my stuff was mostly, well, for the most part, not meeting. But we're gonna discuss, so obviously, 718 is gonna be the, bill of, but I guess this was one of the things that I wanted to discuss, is why we had it.
I had it on my mind too.
718 is gonna be our code of choice again for the next year. And, Jerry had sent out that email and I kind of looked, when I read Iowa code, does anybody else get a headache? Okay, I thought maybe I was all by myself in that, but. As I was reading this, they did go with 102, but then it was gonna be 103 if the basically consumer price index was over 4 to 6% or whatever the hell it was. So that seemed like, they were taking inflationary situations into effect. Here's a question, and I didn't get read down through all of it enough. I was just trying to see if I could find it, but, like we had, what happens to the supplemental things that we fund? I mean, will that all be part of one big budget now?
I don't know that.
See, that's the part we still gotta ask. Because now we won't have the, for this year yet, we'll still have the 3.5 and 3.95, but with this new bill, will that 3.5 and 3.95 they talked about that going away. If that's
You
still,
say a new bill. They didn't pass anything.
yeah, the
No,
one they're working on. That's what you had sent out.
They adjourned
think
for
so.
the year, right?
adjourn for the year, that'll be next year.
it won't be till next year.
So
Yeah, it'll
we're
be
going,
next
you're going
year.
off of what was passed last
Yeah.
So it
Yeah,
won't be until the budget.
718 will still be in effect. What we've been
Yeah.
doing the last couple of years will still be in effect.
No.
So, I mean,
year. I mean, 718 went into effect
what, 2 years
or
ago?
3 years ago, 2,
2 years ago.
I think
maybe.
I think
Will this
we've
be
been
the
running on
third
it.
budget year?
This will be the third budget year.
I think
Okay.
so. Coming up.
I think, yeah.
I don't know.
That's all right to you. Yeah. But obviously, we still want to keep our eye on where they're going. Because little questions like this, I mean, I'm assuming they addressed it. I know when I sent the list up to Steve, that it was listed in there. What happens with the 3.595, and all them, will we be funding our hypers and insurance and all that stuff now in the normal big budget? Which is fine, then that does help us control the levy, where, we may not even need that 2% some years, I don't know, and we'll see, but. That would be always our goal, is to not need that much, but if we need it, we need it. But, and then I did see where they put the cost of living thing in there, so that,
It will be interesting. I don't know anything about this, but if the governor next year, since that'll be lame duck year, last year, she'll be more involved in trying to get something
getting it
passed.
done.
Because I know this time it was, it came from the legislature, and the governor, I think, was just waiting to see what the legislature did. Found out they didn't do anything. So it'd be interesting. And I said, I don't know if she's gonna be more involved or less involved or what, but in my mind, you would think that she might be, which would mean something would probably get passed.
Can you
next
find
year.
out?
I would hope so.
I can ask.
You can sniff around.
Right.
Yeah, I would say that she'll get involved in it, because property tax was also on her list. So I mean, this would be in that, so I would assume she'll be more involved.
Would have no political.
And to be honest with you, whoever the new governor is, it'd be nice to have a bunch of this stuff done, But if I was going in there with the new job, I wouldn't want to have a bunch of these kind of things hanging over your head. In any event, so that was just some questions I had on that, some things that we need to think about. We discussed that a little bit in our supervisor deal over there in Washington County. The other thing we talked about in Washington County was on the eminent domain stuff that, the supervisors obviously had the statewide supervisors association had the same attitude that this board did, we're not against the pipeline, but we are pro property. So we're against eminent domain for a private company and or for profit institution. So the supervisors had sent up a letter, Jack approved it, and it got sent up to, the governor's office to show our support for property owners. So that's from the 99 counties supervisors, so hopefully that helps too. What else was I gonna bring in?
Anybody talk to Steve Holt to see why did he ever say why he thought it didn't get past any property tax bill or?
I did not.
Okay, I didn't.
No, I haven't really talked to him about that, because there was just so much going on with this
Right.
other stuff, it was kind of a madhouse going on. And, I think they weren't done. They didn't know if they were done.
I did have a chance to talk to Senator Schultz Saturday night, and he said it was time to gamble out, it was getting ugly,
I heard that.
and a lot of hate and discontent being stirred, and it was time to call it quits for the session.
Is it just difference of opinions on property tax or?
I think on property tax, eminent domain, just.
I
so
think
many
eminent
things.
domain had some hate, real
Oh.
hate going.
So I think
Rightfully so.
maybe that's why, just in general, things kind of fizzled out. Is what my take of it was, but I don't see that. I can see that. Nothing productive was coming of it.
So yeah, that's kind of what I heard, right? And nobody was beating anybody with a cane, but the word yet was used, so if you was
You know,
close to fisticuffs too. Yeah, there was some hot tempers. I heard that. I don't know, I didn't sit in on anything or didn't watch anything, but it sounded like it got pretty volatile down there. And I don't know, I just,
passion on both sides.
yeah, action on both sides of the coin there. Anyway, that's kind of been the staple of US legislatures across the centuries, right? We've had somebody killed in Congress before in Washington.
It's really nothing.
Let's see, I got a couple meetings this week. Well, one's all I really got. Central Iowa Juvenile Detention. I don't have any idea what I might call Kyle and see what all's going on there. Not you, but the other one, Stacker. But, I think that kind of covers it for me. I mean, kind of quiet. Thank God we got some rain. Nice slow soaker. Boy, did the corn just like overnight? It got that big. I mean, it was amazing.
Well, it's been growing underground for like 2 weeks.
Kind of, some of it came up top. Yeah, I kind of wonder though, if that, if we want to look at a blessing in disguise, now we got deep roots. Or deeper roots than we would have.
Oh, sure.
So that'll help hold it up if we have any of these ugly winds this summer.
We
I
never
think we're going
lost.
to, because it sure has been windy. This is the windiest I remember Iowa this year.
It's been windy for a week.
Ferocious.
Can't
Yeah.
haul corn.
Blow it right out when you were trying to load it.
Yeah, can't even get it in that grain trailer. Moves right past.
A little bit blow the shafts off nice, but come on. The corn's going over the side too.
Yeah, overload to finish it. Can't even get it in the trailer.
Let's scoop it.
Get after it, Kyle.
Sure. But, all right.
Anyway, that's pretty much all I got, Mr. Chair.
Okay, well, we got a little bit before Paul gets here. We'll take a 5-minute break.
Yes.
But Gene, you always said you wanted to go up to Cherokee. I mean, I'll extend an offer if you want to ride along Friday.
You're not gonna leave me there, are you?
Huh?
Not gonna leave me there, are you?
If you're, if you're,
Possibility.
That's what it takes to get a
if you're
vacation.
staying, I'm staying.
I'm all in.
I mean,
What day is that?
Friday.
Oh, Friday we have the, that band wall I was gonna have.
Already?
No, it's
June.
Oh, June,
I say.
no.
Nice try.
Nice try.
All right, I'll see what's on my plate for Friday.
know,
My
I leave
company is
about
leaving
8:30.
today, so.
So, just off.
Followed a Yes Center car the other day, wasn't even tempted to pass it. So,
Did you ever tour the one that's in Cherokee that's not the Yes Center, but the other?
Oh.
Steph was telling me about it.
Yeah, we just toured, yeah, well, the Mental Health Institute. I'd actually, yeah, a year ago, we toured the whole facility. We had a short meeting and we toured the whole facility and all the tunnels and And
Interesting.
I bet that.
actually, that was our class trip when I was a senior in high school, yeah. Our
Senior
psychology
trip.
teacher took us up there,
No.
Mr. Hardy.
Me?
Why about beach house?
They have a museum. You know, they have a
They're
museum.
painting. So
Do they?
it's all kinds of people.
And it's actually kind of, it's interesting.
Completely tore up my girls.
Got the electric
turned it
chair up
into
there.
You know, they do have some shock therapy stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, not that.
Wow.
What I find interesting about it, that was a self-sufficient farm. They farmed almost 1,000 acres, milk cows and everything
Really?
back in the
I
day,
need my stuff in there for me.
which
I painted the ceiling.
times have changed. You know, people didn't know how to handle
He takes up a lot of space.
You said
things back then, so families took their kids and stuff there and just dropped them off and
How
forgot.
was last night?
Good, that's really good. Her
that's-
husband.
That was the norm,
Yeah.
but they were so self-sustained, farmed 1,000
Her
acres.
husband came up with.
Back in the day when tractors and stuff were not a norm, so,
They're the ones that don't come.
Mules and-
Kids.
yeah, it's kind of a sad but yet neat, I mean. the
You
guy-
know, though, that gave them people some purpose, that might really help.
I think it did, some of them, yeah, it gave them a reason to get up every morning and
He had one.
milk cows.
A celebration.
Sometimes I think progress on some fronts
Eat at your house.
is detrimental to some things. And how we take everything away that gives people purpose.
Yeah. No, you gotta have the reason.
You know, I think this Wesco, the way they handle placing people out in the community and, I mean, that's,
You know, the other day I stopped and got some meats and stuff in Fairway.
Did you walk over?
And that, I'm pretty sure it was a Wesco kid, I never asked.
We got
But-
about, right, 3 to 6 of them out there.
Yeah, but this was at the meat counter, and he was trying to help me, you know. And I said, I wanted 2 pounds of the chicken, fajita meat, and put them in separate bags. And pound each. Well, he was, got a little, confused, but I didn't get it worked out, you know. And then one of the other guys came up and helped him, and you could see he looked a little frazzled. I said, hey, that's all right, I sometimes have trouble like that. So then he felt, you know, they do a good job, and they're very polite.
Well, one thing, I mean, when the, coffee shop opens, they're hoping mid-June, now you know, when you're working with contractors out there.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get done, you expect. But they say there's gonna be perhaps 10 to 12, workers will be down there. And for the first few weeks beforehand, they wanna, practice making these different, you know, whatever popular coffee drinks.
Yeah.
And, we have a drive-through down there, so how to function with the drive-through and would some board members be willing to, you know, drive through and practice?
I'll drive to a practice.
Yeah. So
Anderson.
get prepared for actual
Makes
opening.
sense, makes sense. You know, that's,
latte mocha
Right.
with extra sugar and caffeine.
Extra sugar mixed on the
dump in
sugar.
a half a gallon of caffeine and I'm good.
Yeah.
That'll be $29.95.
You know, but that's,
No
there
kidding.
you go. But I know that's what
Probably
we,
not
Cal and I
far
were
off.
talking about, was give people purpose. It
Exactly.
really rejuvenates them, you know, and it gives them a reason to be excited about it every morning and, yeah. So I mean, I think it's a great idea. Wesco does a fantastic job here, but I
Yeah, I agree.
mean, it's just like the steps, we're worried about that because it's been successfully, they hate to see that go.
You know, and it's not just, I mean, look at
Thursday.
people who
We
retire,
have such a great little sweet team.
the people that stay active.
Oh, yeah.
That just.
Yeah.
They have a tendency to say live longer.
Just so awesome.
People that just have no purpose in life, they don't seem to live, so they don't last long after their retirement.
Nope. If you sit around, I was just talking to somebody the other day, they were, I don't remember who it was, but they said, half of my friends just sit home and watch news all day. So how long before I gotta go to their
I mean, no
funeral?
matter,
That's what he said, but you know, I mean, they know.
Well, that's what my dad said. My dad's gonna be 91.
no matter what.
He said, stay active, stay active. You go out there, you went out to the farm on a day that was, not today, it's kind of a little bit too cool, but if it's not too hot, he's walking around his yard with a knife in his hand. He's spade dandelions.
Getting out there.
I said, why don't we just spray it? Oh. I wanna walk, I wanna get around, I wanna get out, be active, okay. All right, I mean, I can spray it for
I
you.
think that might be my job when I get old, is cause I do it. My
Natalie would
passion
be
now.
like.
Well, I go out and spade.
Get out and go do the
Instead of trying to pasture for it.
And then Tyler hear the door lock as he walks out.
Well, I don't have any.
You'll have to walk around to find the open door.
The neighbors, then will be, there's Ty walking
Oh,
around the
there
house
she
again,
walked
we ought
around
to call
again.
somebody. Walking in circles.
At least you'll have a relation close by.
Yeah, Kelly and Mark will look after me.
Oh, gosh. They might lock their doors too, though.
I got a nice step. I'm good. Got my grills out there. I got a fridge that I keep in the garage and I hide some goodies for grilling in there.
There's not-
Hey.
She'll listen to it. She'll just listen to
Watch
the
it later.
recording
You'll listen later.
Yeah, I'll survive.
Oh.
There you go, a little short timer.
Little short timer.
You are alive. I am. Barely.
Say, Paul, before you get started,
Barely.
just a quick question is, what were they putting in on North Fifth Street? What cables were there,
In.
cables were
I
that
have
last
no
week?
idea what those are going to.
Okay, so you saw them last week?
There's a
all those-
lot of conduit sticking out of the
Right.
ground down there.
Right, okay, I didn't know
I
either.
have no
I knew
idea.
you drive past that twice.
I
a day
do,
at least.
and I saw, they were down there pouring all kinds of stuff and all
Right.
kinds of conduit sticking out of there, so,
Okay,
yeah.
North Tenth Street, way out to Paul's house, my
Yeah.
house.
Yeah. So, how do you guys like those new chairs?
Very nice.
High speed.
I have to keep
They
my
roll
feet
pretty
on
Be
the
careful, they
ground.
roll easy.
Yeah.
I know.
I feel like I'm sitting down here.
Yeah, like,
I don't
skateboard
put my
wheels
feet on
on
the
the
ground, go to the wall.
They move pretty,
They
they
move.
got, they.
Freewheeling.
Sleeves. As Soon as she gets up, it takes off.
It's supposed to be
I don't
easier
keep my
on the
feet on the
floor.
ground.
Yeah, can't get in the hand.
I'm getting a hint. I am getting
Trying to
the hint.
take you away.
Protect the floor.
Yeah,
It's to
I
protect
don't
those
the
have those
floor.
rubber rollers on.
I hang on to the
Yeah,
table.
we can- They look like nice chairs.
Just making sure we're
They're very
protecting our
comfortable.
east floor.
They-
Very nice.
Good.
Yeah.
Maybe two.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, we threw most of them away. We tried it on one chair, but they keep, we must have got the chair,
So something.
like the covers for the open, the connectors, the covers.
For the, yeah, right here, Chief.
Oh.
Well, try to hammer it in, they don't.
I'm fine with that, so.
I know we, you know, speaking of that fight, that we've been dealing with the golf course out there,
Kill them more.
you know, this is how kind of weird things happen,
Pass
but
mine
they,
on, I'm sorry.
you know, as you veer off at Donnery, you go up Fairlane Drive there. Part of that's county, part of the city, it's just kind of, you know, kind of a weird area there, but anyhow. So they dug a handhole in right at the bottom, right at that intersection, of course, there's a curb and gutter, and it dumps the water out into ditch. We're fine for years and years. So they dig this handhole in there, and then they, you know, they bore all the way down along, you know, golf course, didn't want to dig it up, so they bore all the way through past the entrance to the golf course. Well, last fall, that water came off of that curb and gutter, found that handhole that hadn't been compacted properly. Went down into the hole, followed that borehole all the way down to the bottom of 18, popped out the ground.
That little geyser there.
Yeah, and it just covered mud, you know, mud on the golf course, and so we've had them out there, this will be the third time now. And the guys are, I gotta give credit to the guy with NP next to him, Steve Ford. He is, in all the miles that they did for us too, he's extremely cooperative. There was a problem, they fixed it. And, so they're still trying to fix that one. You know, every time it rains, the water, it finds that hole, gets in there, you know, it's just like following a, you know, a gopher hole. About 300-400 feet long, you know,
Wow.
and then eventually there's enough pressure, it just pops it right out of the ground. So that's an interesting one.
Very interesting.
Yeah, you know, but they're coming.
That's a pretty good incline down there too.
Well, it is, and I mean, you figure, you know, if it's in this confined hole, it's just like water stacked up, you know, whatever the pressure is, whatever the elevation is. Difference is times 0.43. That's how many pounds of pressure are on there. And so it eventually just squirted up. Made kind of a mess on the course again, so. I should have changed this, plan to start tomorrow, bridge is gone. I do, there's no utility permits. The bridge is all but gone over there, so, we're making good progress on that. The subgrade seal coat project, these guys got a brief up last week, and that's supposed to start the week of the 14th of July, so that's just a couple of months off, that'll be. That road is rough.
Yeah.
So.
Sure it is.
Yeah. Great crew, finished up J Avenue over there by Tony V years. Really nice looking project. The J Avenue up here by Vince Hands. If you get a chance, go drive those projects. They just amazing improvement. So, so they're done there. They're working on a snow borrow there on 330 by Kenny Dreese's house, right in the area of North Mill Place, and then just south of his house. You're gonna do a little bit there too. Then go back down by Buck Grove on W or 240 W Avenue. Another snow borrow down the road. So, and then the bridge crew, K Avenue Culvert extensions over there by Brian Crampton's. It's a concrete box. It's too short. Most of them are. You know, they were built for another different time. They're just too short now. Good culvert. They're going to extend that. Then they're going to go up to A Avenue and work on the culvert replacement up there in combined. So we have item 4. So this is a federal aid agreement for the funds that flow through Region 12 to Crawford County. So it's $2 million that's going to be applied towards the L51 paving project. And then we've also got $500,000. Once this agreement's in place, they get this, then we'll do another agreement for the $500,000 each, which is Highway Safety Improvement Program funds. Yeah. So it'll have nice wide edge line pavement there, 6 inch instead of the 4 inch. They're gonna require that, rumble strips, shoulder rumble strips, center line rumble strips.
Are these monies you have to apply for to get?
The STP money that flows through Region 12, you do have to apply for that. The 6 counties and the 2 cities kind of have gentlemen's agreements on who's gonna get how much. And so, and borrow ahead, so we kind of self-regulate that, but we do have to put in an application for it. So the next one for Crawford County, and I've already talked to these guys, will probably be the Early Highway, E16 west of Mox Corner, and maybe even Kenwood Highway by that. It'll probably be about every 4 or 5 years, we do a project in Crawford County using those funds. So we get in that 300,000 range, 350 every year, as long as the continued federal appropriations come through. So, pardon?
3 miles per hour. Is that in mile, this stuff?
No, that's gonna use FM. Yeah. Yeah. So,
And just that little buzz in your ear.
it's in there.
Okay.
It's constant buzzing.
Okay, so 2 people to buzz on.
So,
Yeah, I was at that,
yeah,
just,
yeah.
a couple of days ago at the asphalt call.
Yeah,
It's in there.
It's in there, yeah. So this is gonna use, what we borrowed had some, and this is gonna be a $6 million project at L51, be a big project.
It'll be nice. It's narrow highway.
It'll take care of one more stretch of 20-foot pavement. So, it just makes those feel like a super highway when you're done with them. So it'll be a nice project.
You can feel comfortable driving like the Buck Grove pig. Feel like you can let your elbow out the window.
I mean, it's true. It really is. I mean, instead of doing this the whole 7, 8 miles, you can kind of it's a more relaxing drive. And it should be.
Yeah.
Not when you're passing another semi that's got a dozer on it and
Oh, crap. Here we go.
you're running your bull hauler down there trying to stay on the road. So, but again, those roads were just built for a different time.
Yeah.
And, people are happy to get
I
that.
thought it was
We're happy
funny when
to
I
have
passed
that.
Ty and he had a
Bill.
foot hanging out to one side and his arm hanging out the other side.
My old orange truck, I could do that. The cab was there all night.
So anyhow, we'll need a motion to approve this agreement. This will be signed and sent on to the DOT, and formalize that.
Make a motion to approve
Okay,
that.
motion by Gene,
Second.
second by Ty. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
You'll need to sign to the right side and then Terry will need to sign. Left side. The only other things, gravel haul starts Tuesday. We're gonna start up in Hampton. And then continue to work on the Stratford materials. So. Next Tuesday? Next Tuesday, yeah, we always started Tuesday after Memorial Day.
We're doing it. Are we doing a 10% blend down in Stratford?
Yeah, we are.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep, thank you. So, that's something, you guys got them in the loop, but, just to continue to stay involved with them. They're producing 35,000 ton out of the Sparks bit over by Dedham this year for us, but we won't get anything next year because they're not moving back in there. So you just have to kind of decide. He said you can leave that pile sit there as long as you want, move it.
What makes them not produce?
That particular site doesn't have much room. And I think they're just gonna move in there, produce a bunch and let it clear out back in a couple of years. I really think that's the issue there. But what we were hoping to do is to get in there when they're producing, haul ours out, and then have them produce another 30. He just said it's not gonna work out. So I think we just gotta consider ourselves fortunate to be able to get out of there because it's really good material and it's in a better location for that part of the county. But it's not gonna last forever either. They're talking about, you got Audubon, Carroll, us, Guthrie's getting some out of it, so everybody wants a piece of the action. 4 or 5 years, best case scenario, and that'll be used up.
Might be worth this summer again. Right? You're up against some time clock, but to go do another tour with them,
With
Stratford,
Stratford,
and go visit them on site while
yeah,
they're mining. And
they'd be more than happy to. So,
yeah, I thought that was pretty good last time we went. It was just.
yeah, I mean, we gotta meet with the owners,
Mhm.
and so they've been really good to work with, other than the way that we have to measure the product we buy.
That's a challenge.
Made me just, a little nervous, but part of the deal. So. But they're great people to work with, so. We do have the Grainer Surfacing Summit coming up too, just so you, and just kind of remind you again of that on 18th. So where you can get all the counties together and talk about kind of the challenges of aggregate moving forward. So. And then new equipment, I think Ben said he mentioned, we have, 2 new motor graders here, the 2 trucks are here. Well, it's really good. Smells like new paint in our shop. And Tim got his pickup. So the only thing we're waiting on now is a spray truck for both sides. And those guys, if you happen to see a mower out on Sunday morning, just let me know. I told them, so we do not mow on Sunday.
He probably wants to do that.
Just can't keep him down.
We're not surprised.
Anyhow, they do a nice job. And a lot of counties don't do that, but we always try to mow the paved roads and the cemeteries before Memorial Day to make them look nice and presentable. So I'm sure that they'll be done by then.
I got one question, concern. I've seen it, was brought to my attention too at graduation. Is there a point where we decide with gravel haul coming up, we kind of always use a formula, I don't know, 20 ton a mile. It's kind of, I know, I'm just throwing that number out there. Have we got too much, Sean, and should we just stockpile it or?
That's gotta be the individual blade operator kind of making that call out there. I'm not there,
I don't know either. I'm just.
but our goal is to put an average of 125 to 150 ton a mile on over all the 850 miles of gravel roads. Some might not get any, some might get, 200. It just kind of, that's an average that we plan on and usually end up using, but
5 trucks a month.
5 trucks a mile.
Right.
Yeah, but it isn't, that's not a hard and fast rule. It's just on average over 850 miles.
With some,
You know, it's kind of like your yield monitor through your field. You might have 300 over here, but you got 125 over here, you know, it just, and so it averages over that.
Well, I guess with just how dry it's been and the lack of snow, where we're losing it, I
Yeah,
mean, are we setting good with gravel and maybe we just put more in
I
stockpiles?
think the
You
gravels,
know,
I think the gravel roads look great myself.
that's where I
Yeah.
kinda at too. It
Yeah.
seems like we drive them, it's like, I don't know, do we need
Yeah.
them? I don't know, I'm not saying, I'm just saying,
No, it's,
just for discussion purposes,
Yeah.
do we just stockpile more? I don't, just a thought, I don't know.
well, I think that'll kind of unfold as they're putting it out there, Kyle.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, obviously, if you have a week of rain, you're gonna see where you need gravel pretty quickly. And
Correct.
there's no better time to put it on the road than when you got it in that truck,
Right.
you know,
Well,
so.
most economically, yeah.
It's the best time to, yeah, exactly. It's so, you know, so I don't go out there and try to micromanage unless, unless somebody's using 200 ton a mile every mile, you know, and get too much out there, but I've never gone out and micromanaged that. I just kind of let the guys, you know, the blade operators and the guys doing the haul kind of take care of that and just say, hey, generally speaking, this is what we have available. And if you put too much out, we won't have enough. But they've always been pretty good about trying to kind of, you know, not putting it, you know, the blade operator knows when he's got too much gravel out there.
I think it's,
Generally speaking,
Yeah.
now we have some new ones.
well, and that was kind of what spurred that, because one of the new ones I seen, and I appreciate somebody trying something new. I think Dane was trying to push it on to the side because they thought he had too much.
He had a windrow.
Windrow, and,
Yeah,
great, you know, I haven't seen that for a while, and, you know, kudos to him for trying something
Yeah.
different, you know, trying to get rid of the washboard.
yeah.
And, you know, that's, I would get to that point, being it's been dry for a number of years, to where. Just
We
thought,
might
you
not, we
know,
might not need as much.
I'm just thought, you know,
Yeah.
just thought process,
Yeah.
and maybe, and then when you get to his area, he's gonna like, you know what? I only need a load here, a load there,
Yeah,
move on to the next territory.
it's kind of, it really is kind of a fine line.
We do have 10 o'clock public
Oh,
hearing.
sorry.
Okay, sorry. But anyhow,
Guys off.
Good
Well,
conversation.
these guys are, I'm sure they heard that and we'll, kind of be monitoring that, so. I'll let you
Thanks for
guys
coming
go.
up.
Thank you. You bet.
Thank you.
Yes.
Entertain a motion for the 10.
Kind of.
There's a motion.
How about we open public hearing,
Second.
the budget amendment for 24-25.
A motion and a second. Okay, Dan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We are in a public hearing is open. All right. We have nobody in the public. Anybody on Zoom? Have any comments about?
No written,
No written
no written
objection
objections.
for our public hearing on budget amendment?
I've received no call.
Amen.
I have received no calls.
Over here.
Well, if I hear there's nothing, so I would entertain a motion to come out of our public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
A motion by Kyle. Second. Second by Ty. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Out of our public hearing. Terry, second.
I'm good.
Okay. Discuss and take action, resolution 2025-20 appropriations to departments.
So the total increase, of through the budget amendment, 207,929, 135,80 to the sheriff, 57,53 to the attorney, 20,000 to conservation, and that is to a special fund of theirs. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, and then, 47,096 to courthouse, and that's capital. So equaling 207,929. Conservation was for that dock that secondary roads came out and did.
Yeah.
That's to pay that bill.
Yep.
And they're doing it out of that fund that they get donations into, and a lot of that was the Ken Huntley
Yeah.
family's donation upon his
Kind of
passing.
Spending
a
more,
memorial.
you know.
I think they donated over 11,000,
Yeah.
I think is what it was, but anyway, It's that fund, and I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Somebody else, so I don't remember either. Anyway,
Friends of Yellow Smoke, but,
no. Anyway,
yep,
I'd make a motion to approve resolution 2825-20.
We have a
Appropriate.
motion by Kyle. Second by Craig. Any further discussion? This is a resolution, so hearing none, say aye, we'll do roll call. Kyle? Aye. Craig?
Aye.
Gene?
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye.
thank you. I thought maybe Roger might be here, but
Yeah,
I did let him know.
Okay, I let Dave know a couple days ago. I think he said he was gonna call him.
It's right now. Right here.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Probably per your agenda, you all know why I'm here for the second reading,
yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir. Well,
How many,
Some of us, we were,
I agree with many lots to have been involved in it before they ended up.
the next question was, who was here the last time I was here?
I think Carrie, Kyle and I.
Okay, so do you recall on how that went and what was done, said in that meeting?
Last I recall, I think we turned it over to Sheriff Steinhuber at the time, and that's, I thought it was taken care of. I apologize for any.
I don't know what you guys thought of what Sheriff Steinkeller had said, or if he was actually gonna raise a finger to do anything on the matter, but I did not, and I know he has not, he never did raise a finger even to do anything on this matter. Okay,
Oh, you should, Larry's back to you, grab.
no, he's with somebody else.
Okay, okay, I didn't know if he's coming to this too.
No, he's with somebody else.
So Randy, where do you live?
2846 370th Street in Crawford County over by. So all of you have copies of these, so you can look at them throughout this meeting. And this isn't all of it. It's
Oh,
2846 370th Street over by Aspenville.
What?
Say that
Over by
again, I'm
Aspen,
sorry.
2846 370th Street
See, you got my.
over by
Have
Aspen.
you been there a long time?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
So, Terry, I believe was her name, was gonna look up. Are you Terry?
I am Terry.
Nice to
Hi,
meet you.
nice to meet you. I was not
You
able
were
to
very
find
kind.
anything. Thank you.
You never.
I
found any-
didn't find anything. I didn't know if, and I went like ahead of the time frame we talked about and behind, and I just couldn't find anything. So I didn't know if you were here during a citizen input time and not on the specific, not on the agenda
I
like
was on
this.
the agenda.
Were you? Okay,
Yes.
I apologize for that I wasn't able to find it.
Okay, so, I'm not exactly sure on how long ago that's been, because I didn't have any information on it either. So, wondering right now, what can possibly go on with this matter? Take a look, everybody.
Mhm.
and this has been an ongoing matter.
This
for-
was just, I got the dates on here.
Yeah, May 2nd.
Yes, and if you care to go back farther, which whether you care or not, you're gonna see the other ones. This was May of 24.
Oh.
And this would have been after the Steinkeller spiel he gave us up here, okay? So. So talk to you about who was here the last time and recalls of what was said, okay? I guess next question for me is, since the last meeting, do you people revisit such things that came up in that meeting to see what Steinkiller's doing about this issue? Or when I walked out, was that it?
No, met Randy, being we never heard back, I never heard back from anybody, the assumption was it was taken care of, and I apologize for that.
There has been nothing taken care of the matter. I actually stopped in here months after that last meeting and talked to Steinkiller, and he chewed me out for questioning his. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm probably the only one out of the dog owners, blah, 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 that are paying a portion of his yearly salary, and that's what I get thanked for, paying my taxes from him.
We do have a new sheriff at this time.
Oh, where's he at? Because
Well, I can contact him. You want me to bring him up?
no, I don't really care if he's here or not. He's the one, he should have information, and I have right here, this has been going on for over a decade, people. I took the neighbor to court, and it's all right here, 2015, over this issue.
So can I,
And
Well, we wanted to
Roger's been-
resolve that. What court, what was the results of the case?
Results of the case was Germer, the owner of these, who I assume did this, had proof of it back over 10 years ago. Never showed up, so the judgment was in favor of me. And here is a list of like $1,000 or $1,200 that I took him to court on. If you would care to add these $10s and $20 bills up that he actually gave to me, came down when he was drunk and put it and gave it to me. It adds up to $200.
oh my God.
So your court system, and don't talk to me about your court system because it fails. It gets a total failing grade. They do not follow through with it. Okay? And if anybody cares to look at all of this, and I figured Rasmussen would be here. This is for when Germa got took for court for being on the state's website, being a pedophile. And so I've got that from the lawyer that I used with your small claims the last time I did this. It's all right here. If anybody care, I did not make copies of this. Anybody cares to see it?
If I call Roger, he's probably downstairs so he can hear this.
I would really like to have.
Okay, I'm fine with
That
that.
way he hears.
I figured he would be here.
Well,
He
knew
should
it was
have-
on the agenda, cause I
Yeah,
emailed him myself.
Absolutely, that's why they were here the last time, Steinkiller.
We don't know if anything's come up or something
Right.
out there. but-
yeah, let's
So
see if we
contact.
can give him an.
I'd like him to hear.
So Randy,
this.
what's the scope of your operation? Do you just have laying hens?
Yes.
You got a free range? No confinement, you don't have any confinement chickens or,
Are you close?
No,
they're all just,
it's my property. My chickens
Right.
can run loose where they want to run loose.
I'm just trying to get a feel for what type of
And
operation.
I have, and there is a list,
He'll be up in a little bit. He's just finishing up, rest.
and here is a list. And this is just of well, I can give you two lists, the one of the 24 and the one of the 25 here. The one I figured up, May was over $1,800. And we are talking, I've got like 38 laying hens, and there's ducks in that tub of dead stuff right there. There's a duck there. The laying hens,
You've got chickens,
ducks,
ducks.
geese, and back in the 2015 range, I had turkeys. And how many the dogs killed of those?
So how many dogs does he have that run free in just this one neighbor that has these dogs?
While and this is really complicated.
Okay,
The 24 one was from a different Corey Schekinger neighbor. And Rasmussen supposedly tracked them down, the dogs. Did he do anything?
no, that's.
No, he did not. He took the Schekinger's word for it that he was going to keep his dogs picked up. And, excuse me.
And to me, that seems to be the answer, but do we have any kind of a,
So after the Schekinger told Rasmussen he was going to hang his dogs up, this cat and kitten thing and this gray goose here, that all happened 2 days after Roger was there and they did not keep those dogs pinned up and they were back and did this.
And it's not like Randy's farm place that they're running across the road. They're all contained to your property.
This Schekinger dog, oh, my chickens?
Yeah, your chickens. So it is dogs coming onto his
Your
property.
I figured out which Rasmussen.
He turns them out and locks them up and
Pardon?
you typically turn them out and then you lock them back.
Oh, they have to be locked up at night.
Yeah.
They go back in, otherwise the coyotes will get them.
Oh,
oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
Everybody's chickens head for the barn on their own usually.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The Schekinger one as per Rasmussen, I figured that one up. For, in 24, I come up with $530 of that. Rasmussen was supposed to take this bill to Schekinger. Did I see a penny of that? No. I did not. That's a copy of
so
that.
this is happening in broad daylight,
Absolutely.
and the dogs are just running around day and night.
Well, how coincidental, since the one in a couple Fridays ago in May, those dogs aren't running loose up on top of the hill anymore. They're tied or in the house or gone. They're not locked up.
Okay,
Now, is that not coincidental? Because there's many ducks, small ducks and chickens totally missing that I never found laying anywhere. And you know where they probably took them? Up to their, yes,
and they, the owners probably found them
absolutely,
and said, oh, gosh, you guys have been bad, and yeah.
absolutely.
So
And that's why it's a revolving problem, because they will lock them up and then they get let go
we
again.
witnessed the dogs.
Not this last Friday, but I have years and years ago, I've shot Burners several, 3, 4, 5 this dogs in the past. And he goes out and gets bigger and larger dogs. Mr. Rasmussen, is that you back there?
Yes,
So should we go back and revisit what we talked about?
They're ready.
Yeah. Catch them up.
or if you wanna come on up here, it might be easier
Just
for
to see
you
what-
to hear us and us to hear you and you'd see the pictures and things like that.
Use mine.
Yeah.
Randy, we do have back there, so you know, our county attorney Colin Johnson.
I don't figured he would be here because I have talked to him in the past. With nothing being said of what to do about it.
This public board of health.
He does.
Yeah, so since nothing has ever been done about this from Crawford County, and nobody's ever told me about state laws. But I'm hoping that's something that I must really know it, those state laws. Because all what I ever heard from Steinkiller was we have no dogs at large law in the county. If I call the dispatcher down here, that's all I hear about dogs running loose on my property, is we have no dogs at large law in the county. That's what I hear.
Well, we have
Excuse me.
state law, chapter.
Absolutely,
chapter
right here.
351. I got the whole thing right here,
So,
chapter 351,
here we are.
that we can,
Well,
as a
I-
county, you can do more than this, but if a county doesn't have that, this is what
Absolutely,
rules.
which is the reason why I'm here. Why has that not been followed?
Which rule are you talking?
The state
about?
at large.
Dog and other animals.
So, like I said, that's all I've heard over the past. Roger, you've been with it through pretty much the whole thing.
A few of them, anyway.
Yeah, and I don't see where you have brought up any pictures or anything that the sheriff's department should have, because you guys, I always say you guys.
Should be in file. Yeah.
So they should have pictures going back past 2015, when I took them to court. And I ended up.
Was this piece of 15?
Oh, this was probably before 15 years, the copies.
This is just code.
And all of what I found, I have, my lawyers at the time when I took him to court.
Probably
That's
nicer weather, they get roaming.
from my lawyer about,
This is,
okay?
2015.
And that had been going on, dogs killing stuff way before that.
This is the incident where you shot two of his dogs?
I've shot more than two,
Okay.
out of four.
How
And like I told these guys, he goes out and gets bigger
Two,
dogs.
three at a time.
So then, the last incident that I'm aware of involved spectators, which
That you're aware
I
of.
didn't see the dogs. I went there.
I
to talk
gave
to them.
you a picture of the dogs going up the road.
Okay, but when I got to the property, I didn't see the dogs. That's what I'm
That,
saying.
whatever, I
Right.
don't know. You didn't
So-
communicate with me on that at all.
So, and then I gave him your receipt. They asked you for a receipt for the damages. I
And
gave you
you
a receipt.
gave it.
Yep, I gave it to Corey to contact you. And he said he was gonna contact you to get this all squared away.
Do you think that ever happened?
Well, I reached out to him numerous times because I've talked to you and he said he hadn't contacted me, then I reached back out to him. To let him know he needs to contact you and square up with you as far as, I think it was like 500 or something,
500.
so. But obviously that hasn't happened yet with him.
No.
Okay.
Do you think that's ever gonna happen?
Well,
No, it's not.
probably
Because the
not
system,
without
the court
filing
system
in court.
does not follow through. I took him, Gerber to court in 15, as you can see.
Yep.
I spent over 3 times the amount on a lawyer for that small claims than what I ever got out of Gerber. Here's what I got out of Gerber, coming down to my house, coming my little drunk at the time. That's what he needed to give me. Maybe $200 out of $1,200 small claims. And then that ended in 215, the dates are on.
What happens, Colin, if people don't pay what the court says you need to pay in the small claims settlement?
You get a judgment against them and you start putting liens on their.
So in other words, they don't have property. So in other
There
words.
is a category of people under the law, unfortunately called judgment proof. These are people without assets, and so they have debts assigned to them by the court, but not the assets.
The guy has bills all over.
Right,
I know he does. He doesn't pay his.
and unfortunately, that's what the legal world would call a person who's judgment proof.
So I'm gonna have to spend money to do this again and still get nothing out of it, is basically what you're saying.
No, it's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when the court issues a debt or a fine or restitution to a person and they can't pay it, because they don't have the assets, either they don't have the cash or the assets to put liens on, then the legal world calls that person judgment proof. It's unfortunate.
So explain the judgment.
Well, typically you can go after a person's assets,
And when they don't have any,
then their judgment.
so I get nothing on
You still have your judgment if they ever would walk into.
Does that
Yeah,
that's
appear
right.
on their credit
Oh,
report? If they go to get
I
a,
don't know if the
Because-
judgment would appear on their credit report.
back in the day,
I
well,
can,
I
I
run
can,
a lien search.
this should have appeared on his credit report. The last time I took him.
In my
to
way of
small
thinking,
claim. Mine too.
because if he goes out to buy a home and, I would do the loan on it, then the first thing you could do is put a lien on that property that I just did a loan on, so we want to see that in a credit report. So I'm just wondering if that has gone that far,
So
because I want to make sure that he's now not judgment proof because he owns property and I just got done doing a loan. So I don't want to see that on my,
I came up here years after this, I did that just to check. So if it was, whether he actually got it off the court system somehow, because he hadn't been paying. So I came up to check, and no, it was still in effect. But what become of that? He's probably got sometimes 5 or 6 vehicles setting up on his yard, he's got 3, 4 ATVs. Did that stop him from getting my small claims against him, stop him from getting loans to get that stuff? He doesn't
Obviously
have the
not.
cash. No, obviously not. So what is that doing for me? The tax paying person.
well, I didn't have to think.
So, thank you.
If you have a judgment against him, you should be able to go gunners and weightless.
Again, you know what he's gonna do then? You know him.
I know it,
He's gonna quit.
I mean, he can't afford it, so
Oh, yeah, yes.
But they're
So,
paying in cash.
that's, I mean, You have every right to go garnish his wages. I think he still works over in, I don't know, left to do it.
Don't you?
How do you do that? You do that through your office, Roger? Or how does
Well, it
a
would be
citizen go
filed.
about doing that?
It would be filed through the
Upstairs.
clerk.
Upstairs?
And then we would serve the garnishment papers at his place of business, or if he's got, it's in Carroll, then Carroll County would serve.
Works at the.
Or works out, yeah. Okay, so since it works in Crawford, then we would not as long, go serve them the garnishment paper. They would take out a certain amount before he actually gets his paycheck. But then once the total is accumulated, then the payment would be submitted to Randy. So, I mean, that's an option there.
So what's it gonna cost me to do
That
that?
I don't know. I mean, the clerk would be able to tell you. I don't know the fees on that one.
It's not a whole lot. And,
But you can also accumulate the fee back, but I'm thinking, right? For you filing,
you can add
you
that.
should be able to add that all back into your filing.
What's owed you,
should be-
right.
Be able to pay that, so.
Well, I've been pressed on thinking I could get out of that.
Well,
It looks like they're about the best avenue to go,
I would,
that route.
yeah, just garnish his wages.
I would,
And we are talking about multiple issues here. One is getting paid back what you're owed for the damages, and then the other, what are we gonna do forward? So this,
That's where I would be heading next there, Dave.
yeah,
So what is going to become? I gave you copies of the state law. When I talked to you on this several times, and you told me there was nothing you can do, do not know of the state law that they should be following.
I honestly don't recall our conversations.
I talked to you at least twice.
I'm not disputing that.
And you told me there was nothing you could do. Both times.
I don't recall.
So
I mean,
there is something that going on, correct?
I mean, there is a dog and large statute. But it would require that the dogs are at large and that they're not wearing vaccination tags.
The vaccination tag should would be found out after they are impounded, correct? They can have
Well, they can have them on.
them on, but they
Right.
don't have to have them on. That would be something figured out after they are impounded.
They, the statute allows for the owner within a certain amount of time to come and provide vaccination proof, yes.
So has that ever been followed, Roger? Have you ever?
No, I didn't know about this ordinance here,
So the sheriff department down here did not know about this. So the answer I got, every time I post this statute of not
unless we get policy
having
code.
a county law, dogs at large, none of you people knew that state law. That I have been dealing with for over 10.
but the other issue that we have, I mean, we have to find the dog as well. To have.
You knew Gerber's dogs.
Gerber's, yeah, and I advised you at the time, if they come back on your property, you have the right to shoot them, and you did. Correct?
Did you ever go up there to see if these dogs were vaccinated or tagged? or-
No, I didn't see if they're vaccinated or tagged, you're right, yep, because I didn't know.
So they could have been impounded at that time and their return time and time again could have been prevented,
So,
correct?
so you impound them, they have rabies and they get out, and then we're back in the same situation again, right?
They have rabies.
So there's
They have
nothing
rabies.
there's nothing in the county that, yes, this is the running at large. Right, I don't, as far as the fine attached to this,
It's not a fine, it just gives them.
so you
gives
get,
them the
They-
right to-
just to make sure they have their rabies shots. And then they get them back out, and then, so, I mean.
And if they're running that large again, you need
We
to
do say,
impound
well,
them
then-
again.
But then we know they have their rabies shots, so really,
If they're
this
running
is
that
just saying
large.
impoundment, just to see if have their rabies shots.
it
Right,
sounds
am I
to
reading
me
this right?
Oh,
like we
Gene
need
has
to
a-
get an ordinance in Crawford County, just like we did our nuisance ordinance with people that weren't taking care of their property. So that we do have some more teeth to put into it, because if it's a problem for you, I'm sure it's a problem for other people, but they just, once they come on your property and kill all your animals, how do you make that right again? Because this is just absolutely
In
unbelievable.
Today's, he has numerous pictures going back over a decade of this exact same thing. Has anything ever been done about it? what'd you do with Shepard the last time, a year ago, May 24th? If you've got pictures, I've got dates on it. May 24th was Shepard.
Yep. So they need to square up with you. It's a,
No, what did you tell him to do with the dogs? Did you tell him?
he said the dogs were gone. They were his girlfriend's dogs.
Okay. Here we go.
I understand.
This picture
Yep.
with the dog, with this cat and kennel kittens, this goose happened 2 days after you went and told. And he told you the dogs were gone.
Right. When I went to his house, there was
They
no dogs
weren't
there.
they weren't gone.
Okay,
This happened 2 days after they were there the first.
okay.
So Randy, since you've got the board of supervisors here, we've got the county attorney, we've got the
Yes.
county sheriff all here.
For being here.
What would, how would you propose that this issue be fixed? How would you describe, I
That's why
guess,
I'm here.
fixing
You
this
people have-
issue?
You people are supposed to be doing
I
this,
say we
not me.
craft an ordinance.
Right, I guess I would
It has
want to
to
know
be-
your idea of us fixing it. How would you claim that we fixed it? You know,
First
that's-
of all, this guy, Germer, which has been going on for over 10 years, who is on the state's website. This guy is babysitting him there, correct?
Yep, yep.
So do you go there monthly to ask him if he's being a good boy or
No,
what?
no. So depending on what tier he is, he has to come see me. So he could be a tier 1, so he has to come see me once a year. Tier 2 is twice a year. Tier 3 is 4 times a year. I go out with BCI every year to make sure they're living where they're supposed to be living. That's all
Do you know
required by
his
state
wife is
law.
gone?
Yep. Yep.
Does that matter? Does that make a difference? Is he still being paid by us taxpayers for subsidies?
That, I don't know. I wouldn't know that.
So he can feed his dogs.
Yes, so I'm feeding this dog's dog food probably besides this, is what I'm looking at on that. Thanks. So anyway, back to this. Why can't you go up there? You know what happened over 10 years ago, whose dogs they were. You never did look for rabies or checking for vaccines. Why, because of this, do you not periodically go up there and see what he has for dogs?
Yes, just.
Because you know he's not responsible enough.
Well, I know he's got different dogs out there, yeah.
He's got 5.
And there's no ordinance saying how many dogs they can and can't have.
No, but under the circumstances of this, so put that down, supervisors.
be,
You know, a dog owner has dogs that's capable of doing this,
No,
he should not be allowed to even have dogs.
I agree. He's not a responsible
No.
dog owner.
As you know. As you
I
know,
don't know, what's.
but yet he's allowed to have, well, 2 of them are really small. He shouldn't be allowed to have a dog bigger than a rat.
But
Can I-
that's not up to me.
I know it's not,
But
but
that's-
it's the case.
Can I ask a legal question?
Sure.
Just hypothetically, to find a solution in, with the state dog at large code. And it just certifies that or verifies that they're got the rabies shots or not, then it can go back to them. This is, to me, kind of even a little bit different than that, because this is truly dog attacking animals.
Those dogs should be put down that did this.
So
They've got the.
if we had.
Absolutely. They're gonna kill.
If we enacted a vicious dog ordinance, would that give the ability for Roger to be able to take those dogs and put them down?
So vicious dog ordinances, I'm not well versed in those, but I have come across them just out of curiosity, and they are not, they're often grounds for lawsuit. Specifically when it comes down to pit bulls. Municipalities have tried to kind of ban vicious dogs and they.
Which a pit bull is what did this.
Right.
They were pit bulls.
And I know that those ordinances are challenged and they often are found to be unconstitutional. I don't know if there are ways to, like, a county ordinance for a dog at large would institute a fine. That's typically what happens with these county ordinances, it institutes a fine. It doesn't directly address what your issue is that the dogs are coming in.
In other words, it does nothing for me.
Well, it would impose a consequence on the dog owner for having their,
And what would
Dog.
the consequence be?
a fine.
I'd suggest a hefty fine.
Uh,
Get your water out.
Blood out of the turnip.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you, Ted.
You're welcome.
But it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
But there's nothing that, you know, that, I mean,
I mean, I can research if there are vicious dog ordinances that have been found to withhold or withstand constitutional scrutiny. My general understanding of that municipalities who seek these types of ordinances, they don't work.
I've read the same thing, Colin.
cause
Even if they're killing livestock though.
I mean, there is remedy under the law to address, I mean, under,
I mean, obviously restitution's not working for this job.
well, there's, under Iowa law, there's a right to kill untagged dogs, there's a right to kill tagged dogs if they are chasing, maiming, or killing domestic animals.
You gotta be there for that to happen.
Exactly,
I work.
right.
Which I could be there today making money instead of.
And under the same, chapter 351, there's liability to the dog owner for damage caused by the dogs when they're at large, which seems you've already seeked redress 2015 about that. What there seems not to be is a criminal statute that says if your dog is dangerous and at large, you will be arrested if it maimers. That is not state law. And it's probably not something that county ordinance will cover either.
So again,
is there any way, I mean, since they're, I mean, overwhelmingly documented that these dogs have done this, that we could go in and impound them because they are,
that's absolutely, and impounded without being released
is
again.
there
Yes.
any law that,
The impoundment is under is the one that he handed out, 35137. If the dog's at large and without tags, then law enforcement is authorized to gather the dog and impound.
But law enforcement, they're never checked for tags or vaccinations ever over the last 10 years, right, Roger?
Correct.
So look how many times, the second time of Scheckinger's dog would have been prevented.
Not necessarily be prevented, so if they
Keep the
have
dogs with-
rabies, they're gonna get the dogs back out.
But they wouldn't have been back out in 2 days when that happened. Plus, they're gonna have to pay restitution or whatever you wanna call it to the vet, for the impound. So they don't pay that, the dogs go down, correct?
After a certain amount of time.
7
So-
days.
Yes, correct, 7 days.
So you, and if a dog gets impounded, you can't take the dog out of impound unless you pay, right?
Correct.
You have to pay to get the dog.
And they have to be vaccinated.
Up to date, which I'm sure,
I don't think they,
correct, neither do I. And since that's never been checked out. So when I
Can that
sent you that
happen?
picture of those 2 dogs going leaving my place that morning,
Yeah, I went right over to Corey's place and the dogs weren't there.
so you knew they were his dogs.
Well, they're not his dogs, they're Caitlin.
But you knew they come from. his
Yeah, and I asked
pets.
him where they were, and he said he had no idea where they were, and they weren't on the property that day at all,
On his
for
property?
his property. And
Well, they were
of course,
probably over at mine killing stuff.
well, not at that time, 'cause I went by your place, first of all, and I pulled into your driveway to see if there's anything there.
And see what happened when I got home from work that day?
makes sense.
Makes me sick. I've been dealing with it for over 10 years and nothing's been done about it. It's you sick.
It'd be easier.
So was
if
there
they just
another
take care of their dogs.
Just a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
And you thought, were they dogs, were they
You know
foxes?
that Pet 10 I was out, I called you guys.
Yeah,
He was out and took pictures of it. Where are those
yeah,
pictures?
so he would have the case file, yeah, but we don't, was it a dog, was it a fox? What was it
Foxes
this
do
time?
not do something like that. This had to be multiple dogs. One dog did not do this
Okay.
mess. You want it right here, you've got a list of what they killed. Right here, excuse me.
Yeah, I got it here.
22 lane,
This is the most recent one.
yes.
Okay.
7 dogs, 5 bands, and for you those that don't know what a bandy is, it's a small, really small chicken, okay? That's what they did on May 2nd. One dog did not do all of that. The only person in the neighborhood that has multiple dogs is,
Gerber,
yes, that I. And if you would have, did you go out after May 2nd, after 10 I was there to investigate? look for feathers anywhere on somebody's farm place?
Well, I would assume Danny probably did.
Well, he walked around up there and said he didn't see a feather, but then of course, nobody come to the door at Grimmer's house, nobody come to the door at Shepard's house, so is that the last that become of it, I assume?
I will follow up with him on that. Yep.
He did not go back out and talk to any of these neighbors about the dogs.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll follow up with him.
Yes, would you please, and could you communicate that back to me,
Yeah.
please? And
I-
to all of these people?
I've always stayed in communication with you, Randy. I mean, I've been back and forth
After I
with
text,
Schevinger, been back and forth with you, with Gerber. You know, I sympathize, absolutely. My neighbor in town, he had the same thing happen, but he said it's a fox that did it. So that's why I'm asking this last time. Did you see a dog with, I mean,
No,
could have
I
been a
was
fox,
not-
could have been something
I
else.
was not home. Question there was, had I had a camera up, you have recorded this, what would have you done? You knew Shepherd's dogs did this other one. You didn't do nothing.
I went to the house to speak with him, and Caitlin was not there. And those were her dogs apparently, and the dogs were not there. I looked around their property, and no dogs were on their property.
But he said they were her dogs and that's where they come from, right?
They
So-
gave me the bill, and I gave it to Corey, and Corey said he's gonna take care of it.
And you know what become of that.
Yes.
There's a dog over there right now.
A black one, black lab.
No.
That's the only one I've seen over there lately.
The black lab, I believe, belongs to the people up the hill, which Ken I said and stopped there, and that's the only person to talk to. And that guy told Ken I that that dog was
First
ran
back
over.
from the west.
Yes, on the
Yes.
south side of the road. And that guy told Ken I that that dog got ran over a couple months ago, and he hasn't had a dog since. There is a brown and white dog at Shepard's that's got a big boil, or whatever you wanna call it, on its side. And it's skinny, and it's definitely being neglected, obviously. Can you do anything there?
Sure, yeah, we can do it.
So
He-
when you say that there's a case file on it, is that,
Should be ongoing and a big one.
He said it was officer, just officer.
okay, so if he would have taken pictures, would.
Well, the
would-
pictures come from Randy. and
Oh,
put it in the
okay,
case.
so he didn't go out taking
No,
any.
your deputies back over the last decade, I had them take pictures. Henningsen, Purdue, Bremser. I know all the deputies' names
Yeah.
by all their names.
But would they normally take pictures of what they see and start that case file so do we have a file called, Dogs at Large? That.
Not specifically over the,
Okay.
no, they'd just be under that case file when it would get read.
With my name.
Yep.
So
Did
then
you
you
call
should
it?
have a lot of information there, a lot of pictures.
Is there a
Of
chance
over
we
the
could
last.
do that, see
Yeah,
just
I
how,
can research it. I went back a little bit today before I come up. I know Troy's been out there,
Which one's Troy?
under,
Yes. he's
Stang
been on
Cooler.
too.
Stang Cooler's been out there.
No, I don't recall him.
He
being out
he
there.
must have took a call from you.
Yes.
So there's a radio log here. Troy.
You can go
March,
back to.
Yeah.
Henningsen.
March 23, one of the deputy just to remind the neighbor that he needs to get the dogs. Which was that Germer at that time? 23 was that Schechter?
I believe Burma, because I had seen their dogs on my property and I didn't have any livestock outs that would have been doing damage,
Okay.
which is why I
Okay.
wanted you guys to go up there and
Okay.
remind them.
Which I can vouch, I've been on your property and seen them there as well.
Thank you, Dave. And those dogs should have been impounded, correct, and checked for
They should have.
up-to-date vaccinations every time.
it actually says the public health board should be involved in
Yes.
dogs at large and the chance of spreading, if they're not vaccinated, what it can do.
Medical disease.
Yep, so it's
For the
a
canine.
big issue to the state, and I almost feel like the county should have a little follow-up to, of enforcement, so there's a little bit more teeth, so that we don't say that there's nothing in Crawford County, just like we did with the old nuisance ordinance, we never had anything before. Now we've had to use it several times, and so, if you're told there's nothing you can do, it's just frustrating that there's nothing, you know,
Control
and so we
by-
need to give you some teeth maybe to do more than what the state allows. Maybe it's time for Crawford County to realize this is a real problem and actually have something on our books that has more enforcement and, more teeth in it.
Totally agree. What do you do if it's somebody's little pigs, lamb, sheep? What do you do when dogs are playing nose?
Well, I just tell the same thing, they're the right to protect the livestock.
And you've got to be there to do that.
Yeah.
So when you come home
Then
and
you
find this,
basically you take them to court for damages.
and I did that, that
I
does
know.
not work.
I don't. I
I'm
see
not
that.
spending any more money on that.
He
To
should
get
actually be
nothing
making
out
those
of it.
payments through the court.
He was supposed to not bring, he was supposed to bring them to you, these little $10 payments.
So I didn't know he was supposed to bring a bill.
That's what I told him. I didn't want his drunken ass pounding on my door,
I don't
Yeah.
blame you.
which he was. And driving, I have, you know,
But shouldn't he be paying them up to the state?
yes, that's what I told him
So
to
then
do.
there'd be a record, he owed you $1,200, now there's an
And
official
instead of
record.
me doing it this way.
And,
Thank
and
you.
unfortunately for him, when this finally does, those payments aren't gonna show
Mean
on his
nothing.
record. They mean
No.
nothing. The court has no idea that he's been trying to pay it.
Well, this ended in 2015, according to my goals.
Okay. And he's not done anything since.
No,
Does it say in the document that he's supposed to run it in the courthouse? Your judgment?
no, I don't believe it does.
Well,
I
It
don't.
would make sense, why, I mean, that way they would have.
yeah, how would the state know that, so
Right.
if this, there just has to be more teeth in things that you can't, I just can't believe that doesn't have to do anything, that he just can willy-nilly give you $20 and just go merrily on
Well,
his
the
way.
other concerning thing, and Randy kind of, you mentioned this, is just to make sure who his neighbors are, having them on his place
I told Roger,
and
even with Scheffinger, I do not want him on my property.
Yep.
I told you that years ago with
Yep.
Germer, and there's, which I have a note on this. I think it was Bremser who could have charged him, Germer, with trespassing years ago. Bremser said he didn't. And I had an order in for, is he still a deputy? Well, that's probably not that. He said he wasn't gonna do that. When I had an order in, as you know, for no trespassing on my property.
And I'll.
Okay, so I wanna know what's gonna be done about this. And for the last time you and Steinkiller was here, do you think Steinkiller actually had any intention of raising the finger to do what he said he was gonna do in this meeting? I'm sure not. I think he actually lifted a finger to do anything on that. No, does anybody think he actually lifted a finger to do anything on that?
Doesn't sound like it.
No. And I don't believe any of you knew that at that time either, but what I can't believe is that you do not revisit stuff that. Had you revisited that with Steinkiller, like I tried to do with him and got chewed out for bringing it up, that had you revisited with him and asked him where he was at on this dog at large in the county thing, a lot of this stuff might have not happened. But no, you guys didn't even revisit that. Sorry, that's, in my book, it's not.
Well, do we want to put it on the agenda to call it, can you kind of try to draft something to get?
I'll look into it.
I would really appreciate it. We'll have it on the agenda for next week.
I think it sounds like you're volunteer to be part of that.
I think it's, I'm speechless, quite frankly. So, but for us, this is the first I've been notified about this, and, I feel bad that there's just never been any follow-up, and you're constantly on guard and
Do
constantly.
you know what it feels like to get up from your chair and run to the window every 5-10 minutes to look out to see what's going on, if this is going on?
I'm
Anybody.
speechless. I can't imagine. No,
If I have the
no.
window open, I have to turn the TV off so I don't have to get up every 5 minutes to go look out. That way I can hear them, but I can't have the TV on so I can hear.
There
I
has to
mean,
be,
this is
you have
just
to be responsible for your
ridiculous.
dog, and you cannot just let your dogs terrorize the neighbors.
Which is
You
why
just
you
cannot.
shouldn't be allowed to have dogs.
I we have to figure out how we're gonna take care of this, because if you're having the problem, there's probably somebody else that is, but just doesn't know or turn on what to do. And if they call in, the dispatchers say there's nothing we can do.
And if
That's what I got all the time when I called down into the dispatch. We don't have a dog, sorry, but we don't have a dog at large law in the county.
We're gonna
I'm
fix
so
that.
sorry.
We're gonna fix that.
And it's what's even hard to get past the dispatcher to somebody else.
Let's see what we can do to address that.
I thank you for that.
Cool. We're probably flipping calling on that. Roger, you be able to head out there.
You know how much time I was spent up there?
I can tell how much time you
Fair
spend.
enough.
I'm picking up carcasses and
Maybe,
digging
yeah.
holes
Maybe
to
the
put them in.
check on that other dog.
Of course.
Yeah. Check both places.
And you could ask them while you're there, if he still plans on giving you something on that matter.
Cancel, or you can be safe.
Yeah, but yeah, I sent him like 2 or 3 notices, and I told him not to go on your property.
I don't want either one of them on my property.
Yep.
Or their dogs.
In the
Or
meantime,
the-
Mr. Mankey, I know you probably don't want any extra expense on this,
I don't.
but having cameras up over,
So that, I agree on that.
that would help.
But what's it gonna do? I sent Roger a picture of those 2 dogs, Shepherd's dogs. He
On the
knew
gravel road from a distance,
from my lane, I just got them out of my
on the gravel
garage.
road, down the
So in
road.
other
But if you have
words,
a camera, was right on your property, and I think I mentioned to you before about putting up trail cameras on your property.
again,
One
so I
time I
need
was out
to,
there.
so I need to spend more money
Well,
on my own
let me
property.
let me check, maybe I have a couple downstairs I can let you,
That's fine,
okay, I'll do that.
I will get my own trail cam. I just wanna be, wanted to be known what you're gonna do about it if that happens. Because why am I gonna spend the money on trail cams if nothing is going to be done?
I would
Based on this, I'll run out there, make sure all the dogs have rabies vaccinations, and I'll be back in touch with you on this.
Well, I think Gene's actually explained that we're gonna look and see what we can legally do.
Thanks for
And
that.
obviously, we'll try to craft an ordinance. I don't know how detailed it can be, because
As in-
we also have laws to follow too, you know.
As in
whether it's our
what-
state or our US Constitution.
As in what Steinfeller said he was gonna do the last time I was here, correct?
Well, he's no longer here.
Well, that's a good thing in my mind.
And as an elected official, like for us, if we would have gone down and tried to tell him how to do his job, we would have gotten the same thing that he would have gotten.
And that's not right.
I agree.
That is
but I just wanted
totally
you to
not
know that.
I mean, I understand,
Yeah,
I
he
totally
would've-
get
it would've
that.
been The same.
With his personality, I totally get that. For 100 grand of his salary a year.
Yeah, but you brought it to our attention, we have taken note and do what we can legally.
Okay, I thank you for that.
Your castle back.
Understand your frustration, that would be true, and that's the part that you get upset sometimes about how our judicial system all works.
Right,
When you're the good guy, you're not doing anything wrong,
Nope.
you're the taxpayer, you're the guy gainfully employed, just trying to live where I'm
And leave
living
my
at.
stuff
I just
alone.
wanna be left alone, that's all, I just
And
want
other
my
people
stuff left
infringing
alone.
on his rights.
what I
Right.
would recommend you do is go upstairs and show up your judgment, and they can direct you on how to get a judgment out there, so it's on. his person,
Garnishment, or get a garnishment of which way, because that's where the route I would go.
I'd go upstairs and just kind of ask them how you go about it, because I've had to do it before. They actually came over to the computers and kind of helped me, get it all set up, so, I don't think it doesn't cost anything, I don't know the answer to that, it's been so long that it may have changed fees,
I
but
will check into
if you have
that.
the day off, I would just run up there and, see how you get some more teeth and.
I-
Karen,
I will
knowledge
check
on all that stuff, she'd help.
That's just, yeah, Karen. on
If she
the
can.
floor.
Or any of the girls in there.
Karen usually sits in the back corner, but
Actually, Jackie
all,
Hosey helped.
yeah,
Jackie Hosey,
they're all very knowledgeable.
yep, and very kind.
There is one more thing I want to bring up here. And let everybody thinks on this. It sure is coincidental since May 2nd and this happened. I've not seen German's dogs run loose up there. The one great hog size ones kind of like a garage. It's coincidental that they're not running around in the yard since that day.
Maybe the responsibility, not hiring them up.
After 15
And that's gonna last, right? Just like Scheckinger's, lasting 2 or 3 days. So no, do I believe that those responsible people are going to do what they say they're gonna do, as in keep their dogs quiet or pinned up? There's not a chance that that's gonna happen.
Yeah, there's no leash law in the county as far as I.
A leash law, what is the leash law that?
Well, I understand that as far as keeping your dog tied up in your property, there's no leash law in the county to mainly tell them to keep their dogs tied.
Here's my question. In the city limits, there are laws that
City
keep,
limits, yes.
but can we have something crafted similar to what they do in the cities?
I'm gonna interject here.
Go ahead.
All right, most farms have one, maybe 2 dogs. And they're usually large dogs for reasons, to keep coyotes away from your critters or away from your house or other animals. And if you left a dog out there generally tied up, it's now a victim. Because the coyotes will make quick work of it when it can't get away or do its thing. So you can train your dogs, and that's where you're being a responsible pet owner, is to train your dogs to at least stay low, or have a little dog that can't really, I mean, a Chihuahua could probably draw blood, but most time you're outside. You don't have, well, people have scent, but in any event. I don't know that a leash law, I mean, most farmers got. Kyle's got dogs in his yard, they'll chase you to the end of their drive. And I mean, that's what most farm dogs do. So I mean, a leash law, and I would like to craft something like, if you got a trail cam, if I was you, this was me, I'd put a trail cam on, I'd collect evidence for him. These are the dogs, if you
And
find.
I plan on doing that, but I wanna know what they're gonna do if he has that. If they've already not did anything with the impound or check for vaccination off. What is gonna happen if I have a trail cam up and you would have seen this going on?
Well, now that we know that this one exists, then we'll do the same thing. We can impound it. It shows the rabies, but then.
But they will have it
Hey,
back in 3 days.
Yeah, that's their right according to that.
What do they have?
But at this point,
Cost them money to get that dog out.
Yes, that's.
My concern is with all this, Randy, I appreciate all your input. We sit here and craft an ordinance. We spend a lot of time at it. It gets turned over to the legal system.
Yeah.
What's the end game?
Yeah.
Same thing. Randy's back in here. I can't get
Recourse.
water out of a rock.
That's exactly what I said.
But that doesn't stop them.
I-
You know,
To me, if they get impounded, he has to pay to get them released time and time again.
There needs to be something done. And dogs that are capable of doing this should not even be,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just,
they need to be.
Well, I don't disagree with you at all.
And the other thing is when you call in, then at least they don't say we don't have anything to protect.
Thank you, because
There's
that was
something on the
really
boat. Something on the
Well,
boat. There is something on the boat.
in fairness to the dogs, they come from wild animals and they aren't cultured like people. When you get a pack of them together, they expand their hunting grounds until something stops them from expansion.
Exactly.
All right, so I mean, it's a natural instinct for them to be doing it. Now, whether they're doing it for feed or they're now game to them.
It's a
I mean,
game.
and it looks like it's a game because they're obviously leaving carcasses behind. Basically, the only recourse you have obviously is to eliminate the dogs when they're on your property. However, you can't be there when you're not at work. I mean, we had issues. My wife's got a boatload of chickens too. And we actually build a run for them when we're not around. Now, you should have to
No.
on your own property,
No,
mind you, but sometimes you have to take, you gotta take the responsibility in your hands when somebody can't. But when they're down there, I actually taught her to shoot a rifle, and I bought her a nice 17 HMR, and she's a crack shot with it too.
you
So
know,
I mean, that's the things that we've done. I'm not telling you that that's the best recourse, but working within the confines of the law, you gotta do what you gotta do. But Gene just told you, we're gonna see what we can do, and Colin does a great job researching for us, so we'll do the best we can, what we got within the confines of the law, but sometimes something like this might actually have to go to the Golden Dome and say, hey, what do we gotta do here to fix when people have
And that would
acts
be,
develop, you know, what do we gotta do? So this could be a bigger deal than what we can handle here.
they could maybe
Legally.
rephrase this law
Yeah.
somewhat.
We deal with that
Might
every
need
week
some
at this
updates.
table or
Might need some
something.
updates.
Yes.
Be redone down in Des Moines.
How we get things done is brought to our attention and you'll be.
So does anybody need more copies of this, or do you want me to take them along out of here, or what?
I would say that Roger or Colin needs stuff.
We need a copy of the law, make sure we have it before you leave. But I can visit with you now, so. Get copies on there.
Thank you for coming.
Well, thanks for.
Yeah.
listening.
I was saying this on the agenda, I was wondering.
Could I have a copy to get this all figured out? Could I have a copy of this, the meetings from today?
Sure.
Girls don't.
And we record,
If you want.
we record those, so there's a YouTube channel you can go to
Okay,
It's, yeah, it's on our
watch
website.
also, which is on the county's
okay.
website.
But you don't have anything on the previous meeting that I was here.
I can't find it, if you could come up with a date that's more.
I'll have to look.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if
Dave
you
and I
have
were
record
here,
of,
when we narrow it down.
Yeah, that's,
That would have been
For like 2 years between there.
before 20, after 2016.
Yeah, it would have been, I think.
between 16 and 20, which is 4 years.
Sounds like. You guys can just type in the words and it.
wouldn't that be awesome?
What about my name? You know, like on an agenda, my name on an agenda, right? Okay,
That easy, I don't think.
so I guess my question before I leave here. Is somebody gonna communicate with me, or do I need to come back up to a supervisor meeting to see what's happening with this situation? Because I'm not letting this alone.
Give me your phone number
712
to,
210 3948.
all right, I will stand up.
Okay, thank you very much.
Roger,
And all of our numbers in particular, if you want to talk, we're online.
Randy,
We're on the
They're
website.
on the website.
Roger will also.
Say that again?
Roger will also follow up and.
Okay.
Drop the ball on it.
And you said you wanted some.
Yeah, put it upstairs. Okay, not.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Okay,
Thank you for
thank
bringing
you.
this down.
Thanks, Randy. Yep.
Randy, take this, so when I call you, you know, that's my number coming up, so you don't think I'm a,
We're good, because a lot of times it's like, yeah.
Telemarketer.
yeah.
That's the,
Or you can call me. Great.
Good job.
Move on to discuss, take action of hazard mitigation assistance program, and Zach's here.
That's that, yeah. It's in the folder. You want to come up, tell us all about your.
You're in the hot seat.
Big binder here.
That is a big binder.
So essentially what this resolution. Go through it page by page. Page
Yeah,
by
let's
page.
do.
Well, there's
Let's do.
4 different counties, so
Pretty much.
we can start. So the hazard mitigation grant program is obviously a FEMA funded grant that helps write these plans for counties that are good for 5 years. So essentially, we have to have a local match of 3750 towards the 25,000 that this is gonna cost. Region 12 writes the actual plan with the assistance from myself and any other stakeholders within the county. So I just need a resolution to pay the 3750.
So does every county pay the same?
Every one of the counties pays 3750 on that. So it's each one of us pay 25,000 with the grant, or how's that work?
So the 25,000 will be just for Crawford. So,
Okay.
So that covers the implementation of the plan, not the implementation, but the writing of the plan. It covers the research within the plan. it covers everything that.
And that money goes to Region 12,
Correct.
not to the county.
How long is the mitigation plan good for?
5 years.
5 years.
Yep.
Okay.
Our last
If
one.
anybody's ever read through there, I've read through it before. I mean, it's over 1,000 pages, I'm pretty sure. Or it was
Yeah,
before.
Yeah. This
But
one's.
it's got some weird
Really
things.
gotta find more for you to do.
I didn't read through the whole thing. I just remember before we had Zach. And I was reading through that one time and it was like, holy cow, there is,
There's
you
a
know,
lot.
percent of terrorism, percent of certain spills, percent of, I
It
think
goes
they
through.
had how many times you cross, I think it's what, over 7,000 times a day. Someone in Crawford County crosses a railroad track driving. And it's just like, they come up with a bunch of weird stuff.
That's all,
But
You probably get half of that right over the Donna Reed Road.
so FEMA has a document that has everything that's required to go into the plan. And Region 12 goes by that document, so. They did it for us last time, so I might as well just continue with it. So.
Yeah.
Take a load off my plate,
Absolutely.
so.
I move we approve, resolution 20-21 or 2025-21 hazard mitigation assistance program.
I'll second
I have a
that.
motion by Craig, second by Jean. Further discussion?
And then do you pass that on, to like public health and places like that, or is that?
The plan?
The plan, or?
Yeah, it's available. This is sitting in the auditor's office, so.
So I think that's part of what they have to have,
Yep.
talking about things.
Doesn't everybody like public health, will they have a copy of that? And
Yeah.
then you in the hospital gets a copy of that?
And stakeholder that is,
Staple.
within the county will have access to it, so.
All right, very good.
It is a resolution. Roll call on favor. Kyle?
Aye.
Craig?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
All right, well, thank you for all
Thank you,
your
Zach.
work.
Yeah,
You
Thanks, Zach.
No problem.
really appreciate.
He's
your
got piles of them
stuff.
down there.
Need a bigger bookshelf.
Yeah.
Up next, we have discuss take action hiring outside legal counsel update from ICAP.
So, the board has previously passed or voted on and passed, hiring outside legal counsel for the lawsuit, the retaliation suit brought by Lieutenant Purdue against the county and the sheriff. At the time, it was anticipated that Brent Hinders would be counsel, and the passage on the action was very specific as to Brent. I've heard back from ICAP, who's approved our application for coverage, and they have assigned a different attorney.
Oh,
And so I just wanted to dot some i's and cross some t's. Since the last resolution or the discuss and take action was so specific as to Brent, I figure it would just be smart to kind of update that. I mean, the approval of outside legal counsel is the primary and most important thing. But if we're going to stay specific, there is now a Christopher Madsen from Council Bluffs from the law firm Stewart Tinley. So just an update on that would probably be prudent on behalf of the board.
all right. I make a motion that we update our, hiring of legal counsel to have the specific name of Christopher
Madsen, and
Mattson.
it's Christopher with a K.
Oh, nice to know.
I have that spelled out.
I did.
Thank you for, yep, so did I.
So we have a motion,
Second.
second by Kyle,
Right.
second by Kyle. Kyle got it. Any further discussion?
All I got.
All right,
Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
I,
Chair votes aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Paul.
Colin, if you would kind of keep me up a little bit on where we're at with that.
Yeah, I'll try to mock something up and send it your way and.
Just kind of stay on top of it.
Sure.
Keep me.
I mean,
Everybody got everything signed.
Thank you, Colin.
Thanks, Colin.
Or we can do that, what's that?
Gene, I think it was all of it. I would.
Thank you.
you.
And I just, just like with our old nuisance law, we had nothing out there that protected the unincorporated city limits of, just need some things maybe
I
to
mean,
tweak
that
up.
protects everything out there, just, I don't know what else. We would have to get very creative on what we can do.
I think that it's just important that Crawford County has it, so that people are more aware we have something, because the state, their sheriff's office didn't know that the
Feel
state.
like the old
had
days,
this
put
protection.
Tommy on.
Yeah, yeah. I,
I just,
responsible, you have to be responsible.
so we don't end up in there with people in here complaining about what we did.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying the fight is well needed, but
Well, we'll move on to citizens input. Sherry, you here for?
Yeah, I just wanted to give you guys an update. A couple of weeks ago, we had our sovereign citizen come in because his property has gone to deed, the investor took deed to it. There was a court time set up upstairs. He got an attorney at the last minute, so they got a 30-day continuance. And I was just at May School this last week, and I think I might have brought this up before, but there's a lot of lawsuits going on with other states, and they kind of feel like Iowa's gonna probably end up changing their law a little bit too. And I don't think they really have all the details worked out, but one of the issues is this investor is taking deed to a $330,000 property, if I'm remembering correctly, just by paying roughly $20,000 in back taxes. So they're gonna have a huge gain off of one of our taxpayers. And what they're talking about doing is non-taxpayers.
Non-taxpayers.
What they're talking about doing is setting something up kind of like a sheriff's sale. I don't know if you've heard of any of this. But they're talking about setting something up kind of like a sheriff's sale, where they will go in, they'll sell the property. Any money recovered would pay the county back and any other lien holders, and then the surplus would go to the landowner, the property owner. So all that's just kind of something for us to watch for, but I just felt like, I really feel like there's probably going to be a lawsuit on this, but I don't know if you have any feelings or not, but they have been, I think it was in South Dakota, maybe in Nebraska, have recently redone their tax sale laws. So just kind of wanted to let you know, so you were kind of up to speed on it.
So there's examples that we could show to the people in Des Moines. That maybe they're even aware, since you guys are.
I think they probably are. I think ISAC might even be working, so, but I know it at Treasurers Conference last week, it was a big topic, and they're just working on different avenues to explore, and the sheriff sale, in a sense, was one that they were talking about.
So right now, the sheriff has issued a deed to the person that paid the taxes.
No, I issued,
You issued it.
the investor came in and got the information to us to start the deed. I took it to Martha, who prepared the deed. I took it to the recorder, who recorded the deed. So now if you would look up this person's address, it's gonna show the investor as the owner.
Okay, so by him bringing in an attorney at the last minute, but what I'm trying to find out is, does he have to leave the property? Is it immediate right now? He has no legal right to be at his home, and he needs to get his stuff out of there?
I feel like the reason for the court hearing a couple weeks ago was probably for them to tell them how much time he had, you know?
I don't know, I'm not involved with it, but I think, I don't know. Was the suit brought by the investor? I imagine the suit was probably brought by the investor, not brought by the homeowner himself. And so if it was brought by the investor, then the investor was gonna want, essentially an eviction notice to vacate the property.
Okay.
And then the homeowner was gonna defend against it, came to the hearing, indicated he had an attorney recently hired, and then they just kicked it down the road.
And how, if you've already got the deed, it's a done deal, isn't it?
Well, I mean,
Legal
No.
done? No,
I mean, the investor is protecting their new property. They still have a person there.
yeah,
They have to have a way to get that person out. And so they're going to the court system with that.
And our person said he'll only leave in a body bag or start the place on fire. So I mean, he's gonna do whatever he can to
Furnish the
protect his
video.
property.
Dave,
Old Dave Koresh.
But I think our sheriff's department went out and issued him a notice saying that, you know, there was a deed or something and there
Well, they
was.
served it with the court hearing.
Well, yeah, with the court hearing, so he came and at the court hearing then said that he had an attorney, so they gave him a 90 or 30-day continuance.
to get out.
A 30-day.
To have the hearing.
To have the hearing.
They gonna undo the deed? Are they gonna,
Well, my understanding it was brought by the investor, so whatever the investor wants to do, go to court, that's kind of
cause
up
he's
to
the
them.
legal owner, you can't,
But the investor is also a company, my understanding, it's not like a person. And so they feel that they need to go in front of the court to get some kind of action or ruling. I've never read the.
very interesting.
I don't.
All right, very, yeah.
I just wanted you guys to
Thank
know
you.
that there's a likelihood that there could be a lawsuit against Crawford County because of our tax sale processes and other dealing with this.
Follow Iowa code.
Yes, but I just want you to know, a couple other states that had the same issue and they're looking at revamping that.
How many
Record
years?
to the state of Iowa, not Crawford County.
What's that?
Well, if a homeowner in Crawford County wants to challenge the constitutionality of the state's law, they have to bring it first through the district court action and then appeal it all the way up.
Cause we don't need any more of those on
This
our
one's a,
agenda.
this one's a little more complicated because the guy thought it was claiming that his property was a sovereign.
To be continued.
And not all claims are the same. I mean, people have different angles they try to take when they're in these positions, but oftentimes it's a person who doesn't want to recognize the authority of the state law.
How many years has he not paid taxes?
I've been in office for 7 years. My first year, he came in and laid like $15,000 or $16,000 out of my counter because he didn't pay when Jerry was in office either. And it was up to the last day when the investor could take deed. And then so he came in and cleared it up and then he's not paid since then, so.
Well, like I said, to be continued. So thank you for the
Just
update.
FYI that
Appreciate
there's tax sale stuff in the works and I don't know what'll happen with this case.
Okay.
Yeah, Sharon.
We got no,
Anything else?
Say we're a little smaller, but we're smarter, but they'll change it and we won't be.
Is there any other citizen input? We have Natalie? You're up.
Input.
Cindy Crudo.
sorry, Cindy.
Mr. Wermat?
Well, you can come up here if you want to. Yeah, that's all right.
Okay, basically, what I wanted to go over as, charter trustee. We've had some questions come up about with this, in regard to the cemetery. If we were to sell a plot, how much would it be? I don't have. Who sets that amount and how do I find out how much?
Can we go back and see what people have paid for previous?
The only, in the actual book, all I've seen is things that are 20, 30 years old, that's like $200, $150, one that was $45. That was way back, but there's only just a few in it.
So they were paying $200
I think it
lots
was,
back 30,
It's-
40
that's-
years ago.
yeah, that's about 40.
That does seem expensive.
Owned by the township, right?
Yes,
I believe your trustees set that rate, don't they?
Yeah, I would think so.
That's what I was thinking.
well, that's me.
So you
I
get to
don't know
discuss
what
it and
set
come,
for.
you get to discuss that with the other trustees and
Well, they thought we should
Fair
come here and ask you guys first before we let them further it.
I don't know what other cemeteries charge.
It's been a long time.
Call,
Is that the one on the Ricketts Highway?
No, Charter Oak.
I would,
That's the one out by your house?
yeah, I'd call Lake the Gosler, see what or one of the Catholic ones are charging, like, right next door.
get some comparables.
Lena doesn't do
Hoffmeyer
it.
does the cat.
She hasn't done it for a long time because she got mad at me.
No, she doesn't live there.
I thought they had a different rate for lots and plots, because when Corey passed away, I thought Martin Allen bought a lot, which was 4 lots. So, and there was a set price at that time, wouldn't that be the same?
us under the right provision.
We just recently inherited that cemetery by the trustees, so there's a lot of uninsured.
I don't think it's out of line.
Okay, I can check with him. And then the other thing is we've had a gentleman that had us looking for family plots in our cemetery. He's living in Texas right now. And he would like to know, and I don't know how to find the answer to this. He would like to know if any of the plots have been abandoned or if it's possible for him to exchange with somebody who owns a piece there already so that he can have the property next to his family. And I'm going, huh?
Yeah, no
I mean,
kidding.
I wouldn't even know how to begin to find out if a place has been abandoned because it could have been built to a family member. How are we gonna find that out? Who does the tracking down of all this information?
We used to keep track. Somebody used to keep track, right? Somebody used to keep track, I would assume.
Well, we know who bought it, but I don't know who has ownership of it. Some of this stuff has been sitting there for 50, 70 years and there's been no
So in
activity.
the last 50 to 70 years, when somebody would buy a lot or buy a block, like you said, that's four lots. Was that documented and written down?
Yes, we
All
have
in
a
the cemetery as to
record that has
who these are assigned
But
to?
he wants more close to where he already has family members buried. There's names that are in the book, but they've since deceased. I don't know
Who their family members are.
who any of their family members would be, and if I were to go look, point me in the right direction? Cause I don't know where to go to find this information. So.
Wait, on
Were
where
those
plot
bylaws?
thickens.
The plot.
Plot thickens,
He's
yeah.
on a roll today.
Are there like bylaws or anything that are set up, you know?
None that I've
years
seen.
ago,
All I got
or,
is the records book.
There has to be some
I mean,
order
You know,
of,
the only thing is, didn't we and Bethany some stuff for that cemetery when she assumed the role of
Yeah.
clerk? Maybe she's got something.
The stuff that came from Letha Gospel,
The stuff that came from Letha.
but that's a,
I mean, that's an interesting question, because I mean, if people bought lots back in the early 1900s and their family's all deceased and they still have the empty lots, then
Who does it go to?
who does it go to?
Does it go back to just the cemetery?
I'm sure you'll find that in probably most every cemetery now that you think about it.
absolutely.
I
We
think
just
I
went
own-
through that
I
with
think I own
Dartmouth.
8 lots in the Catholic church.
Find a place for it.
Big dues.
I was gonna be buried in my truck, now that I need an extra.
But I mean, they might have a phone number, it's like 32S or something, I probably don't connect anymore.
Well, St. Boniface is closed, so.
But how many spaces are there in that cemetery? All together. You would think that there's a map of it, you know,
Well,
but
yeah, that's the map, but the connections to the people that own them are gone, they're gone. The families don't live around here anymore.
nope, and they probably, don't plan on.
Or they
coming
do,
back.
and I didn't know that great grandpa bought extra.
Well, that's true too, yeah.
Yeah.
That could easily be.
Is there anything in Iowa code that states like if a family doesn't claim a lot, that it goes?
I can look into it,
Oh, here we
I
go.
have no idea.
More homework.
Hey, you're sitting around
Typical
here.
lady
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
You know,
You had an opportunity to leave.
it's, 712, 267, 9423.
Makes you wonder, moving forward, should they take all those cemeteries, out of the trustees' hands and leave them to the
where the hell,
courthouse, to the
I'm sorry,
auditor's
where the hell
office?
would they go?
Well,
Hell
I
no.
did talk to Colin.
You can wait 6
about
years for that to happen.
Conversation.
Oh my
Just makes you
God.
wonder, moving forward, how does?
We
got
would
one
need
more?
2 more
ahead.
staff on hand.
We have,
One more thing.
We have a gentleman that was voted in, he doesn't want the position. And Carla Doral, I don't know, we called her and asked her to attend, but she's been to 2 meetings so far. And, she wants to be a trustee as well, she's very active. And so how do we go about, what is the procedure there? Is this
I
something?
did-
I thought we already talked about this.
You and I talked about it yesterday.
Yeah.
Terry
just
and I talked
appointed her,
about it
right?
yesterday.
Right.
Can we get her appointed?
So we just need his
Ryan's gotta send the
resignation.
letter first.
Okay,
resignation letter, and then we can appoint Carla.
And he could email it to you, he could email it to Natalie.
Just saying he's
Bring it
stepping
in.
down.
He can give it to me.
And then
or
get it
one of
on,
us.
the other one on the
Cause he already
agenda.
thinks that you're the one that put him in the ballot.
I don't, I
I said it was
didn't
probably
do it, but I know who did.
I could say you were.
Sure you voted.
So yeah, if we get his resignation letter, then we
We
can
can
just appoint.
appoint the other one.
Okay,
Okay.
All right,
If we
that
get
one was
that, then we
easy.
can-
that one was an easy fix, okay, alrighty. So then after we get the letter, then what's the next step after that?
We'll just put it
I
on the
come to you
agenda.
guys?
Discuss and take action to appoint.
Try to find somebody that could bring it into the courthouse for you.
Okay. Okay.
Or if they,
Well, I
email-
know where he lives. That
if
would
they
be easy
email it
fix
to you,
there,
email,
so.
forward it to me.
Just email, and I gave him Terry's email.
Okay.
address.
All right,
If
okay,
he sends it to me, that's good.
okay,
If I get it, we'll
Yeah,
get
we
that
talked
other on.
about it
the agenda.
yesterday. I haven't talked about you because I got home late and you were late. I forgot.
Okay.
about it. Sorry.
okay, all right. That answers my question.
Okay, thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
We have Cindy,
Hello.
you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, Ty, thank you for that letter of support for the no eminent domain that was sent
Oh.
out to the governor. Appreciate that.
The
Speaking
statewide
about,
super-
I'm sorry.
it's the statewide supervisors association that signed up, so yeah.
That's great. House File 639 still has not been signed by Governor Reynolds. So, Craig, any kind of influence you have to that office would be much appreciated. We don't know, we've been sending letters and people have been contacting, so we just don't know where she stands on it yet. But the good news, for the last 4 years, landowners have been asking for a meeting with our governor. And finally, she consented this week. She is going to meet with 6 landowners out of the 250 that are on the list of requests to meet with her. So it'll be interesting to see what that meeting is. Personally, I'm hoping she's going to sign the bill in front of them, but we'll see. So that's what's happening so far on the state level. But our bigger concern right now is by far on the federal level. And I updated you last week about the reconciliation bill and what was in it. It's been a busy week. Tuesday afternoon after your meeting, the markup committee met with the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Although amendments were brought up that could have impacted that language, they were all voted down and the bill was passed through. Then Friday on the 16th, the House Budget Committee panel rejected this bill 16-21, which then over the weekend apparently sparked off a lot of negotiations with the GOP and the committee. At the time, Medicaid was the main issue of the controversy. Sunday night then, these guys work a lot of nights. It's kind of weird, but the House Budget Committee then approved the bill, but they did take out the language about the local, not about the local control and the state laws. So that was really good news. However, it's not completely out. Tonight or tomorrow morning at 1 a.m., the Committee on Rules is going to meet. I wish I would have slept in because it's going to be a long night. So I'm not quite sure if that language is going to stay in there or if they're going to do something to get it out. So I guess time will tell on that one. But the most discouraging news just came about a half hour ago. I got a text that Steve Holt actually shared it, that Trump is telling the House Republicans, put the pipeline language back in. Who doesn't love pipelines? Let's get this done. We need to build pipelines. So apparently he has Harold Hamm and Doug Burgum in his ear, because we all know that CO2, although they tell us it's going to be sequestered in North Dakota and South Dakota, they're talking to their PUCs that the ultimate goal is to move it up to the fracking and the enhanced oil recovery fields and the Balkan oil fields. That's why Harold Hamm invested $250 million into Summit to get that done. So this is just my opinion, but we know that Harold Hamm and Doug Burgum is advising President Trump. So I don't know that he has any people on the other side of the fence advising him, or if he's completely listening just to these guys, which is really sad because we have a lot of governors who have spoken up about this language. And a lot of, I don't think our representatives in Iowa, Feenstra seems to still think it's a state issue. He refuses to even listen about the 45Q credits or about the language. And Marilyn Meeks is one, she was actually on the committee, the House Energy and Commerce Committee, and voted it down. So she is not for Iowans. I'm not sure about Hinson or Nunn, where they stand on it. I mean, they've been contacted. So we're not getting any help from the Iowa representatives, but fortunately, this is not just an Iowa problem. This is a lot of states. I mean, and not just Summit. This is going to Illinois and Indiana and Louisiana. It's all over the United States that this will impact. So that's the update. To be continued. Any of you want to stay up late and listen to the 1 a.m. meeting?
So Cindy, I got a question. So President Trump, I mean, obviously, nobody really objected to pipelines. But it says about eminent domain. Is he not aware of that and its constitutional complications? I mean.
I don't think so, Ty. I really honestly think he's listening only to Doug and only, I shouldn't call him Doug. What is he now? A secretary? Secretary Burgum? I didn't mean any disrespect by calling him by his first name. But I really don't, because I know I listened to a committee a while back and they said, what are your roadblocks? Why aren't things getting done? And they said regulations. The regulations are keeping us from doing it. So I think that spearheaded this being into this language that give them their expedited permit that they can override all regulations, all local, all state regulations, and get it in. So I think that's what President Trump is hearing. I don't know why he doesn't think eminent domain, because I know he's talked about eminent domain before, in the right place at the right time. I don't know. I would love to be a mouse in the room, but I don't know.
I think this is a slippery slope to other things too.
Exactly, which kind of leads me to the last, I'm kind of changing the subject a little bit, but we can guarantee if this comes through, they've already told us that they can build up to 3 pipelines in a corridor. So, and we've already been told that hydrogen, sustainable aviation fuel, and methanol are the next pipelines coming down the line. They're all hazardous. So I would encourage the board to please think about an ordinance and setbacks for Crawford County, where you want those pipelines to be for economic development sakes, for safety sakes, for everything that we've kind of talked about in the future, before you have a company that comes in and presents it, and then you have the lawsuit threat again. So I know when you're talking about the dog ordinance, maybe you can just add this one to the list and just have an ordinance meeting. I'm kidding. I'm kind of kidding, but you know what I mean.
I would welcome you to come to help us with that
Nice
verbiage.
We're already looking at Colin and he's.
Yeah.
Nice segue, Cindy.
Colin's making notes.
I know he's had a lot today. I'm glad he came.
Especially when she's at a state in his office.
Yeah. So anyway, I will send an email out. I'm sure you guys are on the Representative Holt's email list too, if something changes or something happens, but I'll see if I can keep you updated as well. To be continued.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Cindy.
Cindy.
Okay.
Anyone else with anything for citizens input? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
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 I don't get a clock on my
Oh.
thing anymore.
We're done.
Perfect.
You're right back.
All right.
The only other thing.